Fucking go for it.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Not For Nothing. I am in Southern California still, and I am in, was it Dana Point?
Nailed it.
Dana Point. I'm visiting I can honestly say it's kind of I can't say it's a long-time friend, but it's a friend.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Well, what's long time? Because it has been a while.
It has been a bit. Yeah, it's actually been a bit. Well, first introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the particulars.
What's up, guys? I'm London Reese. I'm a tattooer from Orange County, California. I would say I'm old friends with Joe. I don't know if he really thinks the same now at this point, but 12, 13 years later.
It's been a bit, yeah, since the fucking...
Summer of 11.
Show, yeah.
Summer of 11. Show.
And I can't say that I knew who you were before, because I don't think I really did. I think my introduction to you was the TV show, and I'll be honest with you, that kind of kills me a little bit. I hate the fact that I actually learned something from a fucking television show.
Well, I was a spring chicken at that point. I was only in my professional career maybe 5-6 years, so I was new. I was coming under the wing of Mike DeVries. I was working with him at that point. Josh Duffy was there at that time. Jeff Johnson was there, who I'm still friends with. Caitlin Crane, who's still in the area, worked with Jeff Johnson. So I was working alongside all these studs, just getting okay. And I was versatile because of my street shop days.
Right.
So I signed up for the show thinking, I can do a lot of styles. I might do okay. Thinking... And they sold it as the best tattooers in the world are signing up for this shit. And the only good one was actually Roman at that point.
Well, I think Roman was the one that everybody knew. And again, I will admit, when I got there and they were telling us what needed to be said, and they're just kind of like, oh, these are the best tattooers in the world. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, apparently you guys don't know about the grand scheme of the world when it comes to tattooers.
Literally... No one but Roman had a name. So there was nobody that was great. It was everybody like myself, minus Roman. He was the only good one that had a name. All of us were kids.
Not only kids, but there was a lot of yous that, well, you were really young. You were far from the youngest tattooer on the show. On top of that, having said that, guys who had been tattooing longer than you were worse.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where... Looking back on it now, you know that the shows have a dichotomy. Maybe not so much now. I wouldn't know because I don't watch shows.
I think it's better now.
Right?
The producers got privy to it.
Well, they had to, because, I mean, not for nothing, because you can tell, like, you look at the episodes and you know the only bad tattooer that's going to stick around is the one with the big fucking mouth.
Yeah.
That they know they're going to get drama out of. Yeah. And he's going to be able to pull drama out of other tattooers.
That's the one consistency with all these shows. They know to keep the loudmouth around.
Well, I mean, not for nothing. It's characters that, I mean, not that tattooing is character driven, but tattooing is definitely, it's better because of the characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why do you think you've had such a good career?
Fuck yeah, I'll be the first one to admit it. Like, people either love or fucking hate me, and I can live with both.
Yeah,
I can
as long as you're good, people are drawn to the fucking the crazy loud guy.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of being drawn to the crazy loud guy. I think it's just that's become, that's part of the business. But let's get on that subject.
Let's go.
What do you think about the younger generation of tattooers that are coming down the pipe now, that are all used to their safe spaces, that are used to not wanting to be loud? I mean, the people, I hope nobody in the shop besides the client is wearing fucking headphones, but the people that are the headphone wearing, private studio, dim lights and like safe space kind of environments, how do you think I affect that type of individual? Not to mention the fact, where do you think that's going to end up? I think there's always going to be characters. I do.
There should always be characters. I think we know that there are certain types of folks that appeal to people that are looking into tattoos. They want a bombastic kind of intense personality because it makes them feel more like they're more confident in their work. So I think there's always going to be a space for that.
Now, when you say people that are into tattoos, you're not talking about the soccer moms or the
No.
Yeah, you're talking about the people that you're not looking at the little bangers on the finger. You're talking about people that are heavily into tattoos.
People that really do want tattoos and are into the tattoo culture, they like a personality. And I think the work is maybe just as important to them, the quality, but also they're drawn to that, right? Like we've all met the guys over the years that they're good tattooers, maybe not great tattooers, but they have a good career because they connect with their clients and they have maybe a niche and maybe they have a demographic that they cater to, but they're busy because of who they are.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that one of the things for decades that kept people coming back and sitting in my chair was the idea of being able to sit and just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Or be able to spout off at me.
Yeah.
Hear my response or just have me not respond. And just be able to take whatever ill shit they fucking threw at me.
I mean, 100%, why do you think I'm here? Like, I wanted to do this because I wanted to hang with Joe. I don't know what we're talking about yet. I just wanted to hang and shoot the shit with Joe.
Well, that's the whole point of this. The whole point of doing this was to basically reconnect with individuals that I've known for many, many, many years.
Not that many, though.
Huh?
Not that many.
Well, not that many, but the people I've known for several years.
Yeah.
And then the other part was to kind of meet new people and hook up with those individuals. Because, I mean, the one thing that I catch out for, because I do talk a lot of shit about the younger generation. I tend to talk down about the younger generation. And it's not intentional, though. It's not me trying to attack the younger generation. It's me just basically spouting off, and it's easy for me to say, oh, the young guys or this new generation or whatever. It's like any other fucking old Archie Bunker fuck is gonna be that guy because that's our backup.
You're also East Coast, and you're like that perfect middle ground of tattooer that's old school and new school, and you just have a perspective that only a small select few of guys have, and I think it's important that some of you are loud and share your opinion because a lot of guys are just quiet artists and don't share it. But it's not a bad thing to be loud and bombastic and opinionated. And that's what tattooing's built on, is being loud and bombastic and fucking keeping it real and talking shit.
I think when that's all you are, I guess not for nothing. There's a lot of people in the business now that's pretty much all they are. They are a fucking mouthpiece.
Yes.
And I'd like to think I'm not that.
No.
I like to think I still offer a little something for the trade.
No, you have merit and you have respect, and we're all so lucky to hear from people like you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think what you said before about a little bit of old school, a little bit of new school, I agree with that because, I mean, I came in as not old school at all. I didn't have any love. I didn't have a deep love for tattooing. That's why I got into it. I got asked to get into it. And then secondly, I came in as kind of a new school guy, which I don't really see, but I did everything. But I leaned towards bright colors, and that's what they made my name.
It didn't have a name yet.
No, it didn't at that time.
You just did what you did.
I think I got lumped into a new school because it was just an easy way to figure out what I did was, because nobody knew what it was.
Correct.
Because nobody was doing that kind of color. Well, there was people doing that kind of color, but it wasn't as big as it is now. You know what I mean?
Well, also the styles and the genres and the trends that come up, they always start with that though. Like same as in any art form. Yeah. They start with the guys, this is what I naturally do, and because you were good at it, people try and copy it.
Right.
That's like everything we like in art.
Well, especially
comes from a real place.
Especially with magazines, because magazines was like the beginning of social media for what it became.
Especially us.
Yeah, because back then it was you got such a laser point version of what was happening, because there wasn't you weren't being inundated by a million pictures.
No.
You were being inundated by 3, maybe 4 magazines that came out every month or every other month.
Yeah, quarterly maybe.
Yeah, and then from there...
And it was the best of the best.
Yeah, and you got to really dwell on something before you got inundated by another pile of shit.
100%.
Where now it's like... Now it's just coming at you you're like, what the fuck,
God.
Well, having said that, when you came in, you made it clear, you'd been tattooing for a few years. I should say when you came in. When you did the show before I met you.
Yes.
And I don't want to use the show as being the end-all, be-all of who you are, because... That's far from the fucking case. You're not somebody who did a television show, made this huge fucking name for yourself, and then disappeared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're still continuing to do fucking phenomenal work. You've got a great little studio. You've made a name for yourself in the grand scheme of the business, as well as locally, which is the most important thing, especially today. And you're continuing to grow. But back then, you said you wanted to get on the show because you felt like, hey man, like I'm good. I could do a bunch of different things. I think I can do well. And it wasn't until you actually showed up that you went, oh, I got this. No, you didn't say I got this. You honestly thought it was going to be Roman.
I when I went in, I feel relatively confident in my ability to be versatile. So I think I probably won't get kicked off first, hopefully, because it was like thrown at me like these are the best tattooers in the world. Okay, cool. I didn't feel any kind of confidence that I was going to win. It was more so, this is a great opportunity for me to use TV as a marketing thing to show the world, hey, I'm here. I'm in California. This is like a billboard for my work. Cool. Then I get there and I'm like, oh, I'll probably get top 3. Roman will win, and me and either Alexis or John are going to win. Or get like top 3 next to Roman, right? That was it. And then it was just the wild thing that it was.
Yeah.
But it was I had never any expectations of doing well. It was just commercial.
I think back then it was there was no expectations because nobody really knew.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I looked at it as there's no fucking way this is going to last.
Yeah.
This is not going to get anybody any kind of, like I looked at it as this is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? You know? I remember talking to Chris Nunez because both shows signed at the exact same fucking week.
We filmed the same time.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And our show came out a year later.
Yeah. But it's because they ended up talking.
Afraid. Yeah, they were afraid.
They ended up talking to the other production. It was like, should we compete or should we support? Right? And it was like, cool, we're filming the same time. They had the same release month. And instead of doing that, they decided, you guys go first. As soon as you're done, 2 weeks after you're done airing, we will air. And that was last minute because they didn't know they were going into production. What to do.
Yeah. Well, and that was the shame of it, is because I think that was the biggest issue with our show, is the fact that it didn't. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
They should have never gotten it. That network should have never gotten
it.
That was the thing that aggravated me. And when I talked to Nunez about it, I had said, I was like, dude, it's not a lot of money. I'm like, this is like a week's pay.
Yeah.
Like I don't really see that as being good money. And he was just like, dude, you make the money on like the 5th and 6th season. And I'm just like, motherfucker, this ain't gonna last 5-6 seasons. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And our show didn't, but theirs is going, I think Ink Master's going on like 17.
Yeah.
Season 7. And granted, Nunez and Oliver are no longer part of it.
Yeah.
But it's changed, you know.
It's but they were on it for a while.
Oh fuck yeah.
And so yeah, it had its mark. It still has a mark.
Oh, I think Ink Master, for bad or good, mainly bad, has left its fucking mark. I mean, I get a lot of people who liked our show that watched it that were like, man, I really enjoyed your show. I thought it was more down to earth. I thought it was more, because I think our show, the difference between that show and our show was the fact that our show was like Miami Ink meets a competition show, because it was about clients being able to tell their story.
Yep.
And while I hate that, I'll be honest, I don't like it.
Me neither.
I do know that regular people dig on that.
Yeah.
And I understand where it had a place. Where Ink Master took it and they just turned their clients into like shit talking sheep.
Yeah.
That were just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit here, but when I'm done, I'm going to be able to fucking yell at you and say how much I fucking hate my tattoo.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it was different in that way for sure. You know, it's funny. After season 1, you kept me on my fucking toes. That was great. I'll love you for it forever. But
after that, or
so during it, you kept me on my toes. But after the fact, after I won and we wrapped, the production company hit me up and said, "Hey, we're going to continue. Could we hire you as like a consultant?"
Yeah, you made out really well.
To look at the people we're looking at to consider being on the cast. Mind you, cast. Right? They're looking at it as a cast.
Exactly.
To them, it's a cast, personalities or whatever. But to me, it's like skill. So they approached me from like that lens, which I loved. So there was progress there. I will give production that. They said, "Hey, will you help us look at these people strictly at their work, their portfolio?" I didn't know their name. I didn't know what they looked like. It was just their portfolio, and said, "Will you grade these?" And so I graded dozens and dozens and dozens of artists. And it was, a categorization of maybe 20 pieces from each artist. And I said, 1 to 10. And then they said, why? Why do you give them this score? So I scored them all out. And at the end of it, I did it. And I wrote a note. And this was for the upcoming potential season 2 cast. And I go, these 2 will be the top 2 if they make the cast. This one is the most versatile. This one will probably win for like creativity and ingenuity. And I said, because if Joe's judging, he's going to want to see some fucking flair. I didn't say flair, but whatever.
Well, but
I
said.
Some
for me,
creative.
it's more about individual. It's individual, style.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the funny thing about that is, I think that's why in second season, that's why the person who won.
So the one I said is the most versatile and is probably the strongest tattooer was DJ Tambi. And the one I said would win was Teresa Shaw.
And not for nothing, that was a solid. That's a mad solid pick, because at the very end, we talked about this just before.
And I didn't know who I was looking at.
Oh, for real?
I'm telling you, it was literally the work. It was just the fucking portfolio. And at that time, I didn't know either of them.
So you didn't have. Oh, so the funny thing was, I didn't know who well, that's not true. I knew who Teresa was.
Okay.
And I want to say, Teresa didn't work at our shop. I think she came to our shop after and did a guest spot.
Okay.
But it was one of those things where, in that same season, Ralphie, he was a good client of mine. I did both of his rib panels. I did both of his lower sleeves. I did a shit ton of. And it's funny because they had reached out to me and said, hey, we might have a problem with one of the contestants from this season. And I knew through the grapevine they were talking about Ralph.
Okay.
And I go, is it Ralphie Giordano? And they were just like, yeah, he's a really good client of mine. And they're like, is that? I was like, it's not going to be a fucking problem. I was like, to be honest with you. Do you know me yet? Exactly. I was like, if anything, I'm going to enjoy riding Ralphie. Because, and again, not for nothing, I don't think, I love Ralph. Yeah. Ralphie, when he left our shop to open up his own place back in New York, I was heartbroken, dude. I truly enjoy that guy.
Because you just love the dude.
He's just a good person, man. He's a good tattooer. I just really like him, Yeah. But when he was on that show, dude, I remember, I don't know if it was the episode he got bounced for. He had to do a squirrel. And, dude, it was the most jacked up, new school shit tattoo.
Oh, no.
The drawing was so fucking bad. And I think at one point I looked at him, I go, motherfucker, you got a tattoo on the top of your thigh from Jimmy Litwalk of a fucking French bulldog. All you had to do was fucking pull your drawers down and fucking copy what fucking Jimmy did on you.
Nobody would have been mad.
And I would have been the only one who knew that you got tattooed by Jimmy. And you didn't even do that. You tried to do your own thing. Come on. And I think he might have actually bounced that one.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. If you're gonna do a style, there's got to be a familiar aesthetic to it, or people don't get it.
Right.
And if it's not good, that's one thing. But if it's stylistically, you're not following kind of some of those unwritten rules, it doesn't work.
Well, and I think back then there was less about the rules because neo-trad wasn't a huge thing back then.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there weren't these with new school, it's always been kind of an unwritten rule.
Totally.
You know what I mean? You do things a certain way because that's what makes the tattoo stand out.
Yeah.
Whether it be a rim light or a fucking cast shadow or a fucking bright color background, whatever. It can be any number of things.
Yep.
There was no written rule down. Now I think when you do neo-trad, it's got to look like what it. And I don't. This sounds shitty, but it's got to look like what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it stands out too much, people are going to look at it as that's not really neo-trad.
You just can't categorize it as the such. Yeah, and it is weird because those are some of the best tattooers in the world that have names in that specific genre or style. But if you stray, it isn't neo-trad. So then it's your own thing. That's the weird part about our trends and the semantics within tattooing. Oh, it's frustrating too because that's bulletproof tattooing if done well.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you stray and do a little bit of your thing, you're not it. But that's how you make a name for yourself, is doing your own thing.
Exactly.
That's why I was kind of brought up under watching guys like you do new school, because it was tattoos have never looked like that. Still don't, right? You had your own voice in tattooing.
Right.
And I love that. And I've kind of tried to figure out that for myself within my style, my whole career, because I want it to be a London piece, and like I want to be covered in all these nice new neo-trad artists' work because it's just fucking amazing. But you show 50 of those guys to the world doesn't know who those 50 people are.
No, because if it's done properly, you don't know who it is.
And it's just like classic good trad too.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something cool about that. Like, I'm making bulletproof tattoos, but also as an artist, and maybe that's the art kid in me, it's like, that's kind of a bummer too. Because I know whose it is, but like the untrained eye and the young tattooer and the dummies or the non-tattooers, they don't know who did that.
Well, the funny thing about that is, a perfect example with that is like the more you stand out, the less likely you are to, you're not going to fit in.
Correct.
So that's fucked up.
Correct.
And the crazy thing about that is, I got caught out one time because I made a comment, because all it was used was, it's like, fucking Mike Chambers does a great fucking tattoo, fucking, but you can't tell who did what because it's just a good tattoo, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And everybody took that as an attack.
This. Yeah. I remember this.
They took it as an attack against Mike Chambers. And I'm like, it wasn't attacking against Mike Chambers. If it's anything, it's talking higher about Mike Chambers because he can do a tattoo that is seamless and perfect and uber traditional.
Flawless.
And you can't tell. And that's the best part about being a great trad artist, is the fact that you just did a perfect tattoo and nobody can tell it's you over somebody else.
Yes.
Now, let me flip that around.
Huge difference.
Let's say the guys like Eckel, Lars, Loose Lips, those guys. Those guys are the beginning of neo-trad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think it wasn't called neo-trad back in the day.
No.
But they are...
That's just illustrative tattooing from the 90s.
You could say they're
2000s.
like the godfathers. Now, they haven't changed. They're still doing their thing, and nobody gives... I don't say nobody gives a fuck. That's wrong. But I don't think that they get the same props.
Correct.
That somebody like you said, like a DJ or any number of fucking guys who I can't name, because I don't know the fucking styles that well or the names that well. But like those guys have a bigger name than the originators of it.
Correct.
I think the people who know better go to those guys. But
Correct.
the people who don't are attracted to the brighter colors.
Yeah,
and the claw-like hands.
You do got to remember though too, just to olive branch to that fact, because you're not wrong. But it's also photography is way better.
Almost certainly.
Exposure's way better. Those guys are probably just older in their life and their personal lives. Just they're not as invested into social media because they're just older. Right. So like guys like Chris Pram and all those guys down here in San Diego. And all the neo-trad guys from America and around the world, they came up learning under those guys in magazines.
Right.
And so that they came up in social media, and tattooing was relying on social media from the beginning of our careers. Most of us middle.
You guys came in with the savvy of being computer smart and knowing, or not even computer smart, but just like fucking, like I said, social media.
Just a part of my life.
Yeah.
Right? But like Eckel didn't.
No.
Like I have Eckel like I found Eckel from probably TAM, Tattoo Artist Magazine, same as Uncle Alan, right? How would I have known of these guys unless somebody wrote an interview with them? Like I have an Eckel book right over here. Like nobody now makes a book. Now it's I have a big following and I made a YouTube video or whatever. It's just different. So the forefathers that educated me only through quality work, like they just kept doing their thing. And so now the new generation of younger tattooers and the guys like me in the middle, like we're just putting out our work and maybe doing more conventions and maybe putting out like art books and just putting ourselves out there more. But yeah, just to your point, those guys don't have a name because they just grew up they came up in tattooing in a different generation. And we're talking 10 years.
So let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts on like guys like me, guys like them? I think I got my feet a little bit more wet in the social media pool than I think I see from a lot of those older dudes.
100%.
But what's the advice, and do you think they still need it? Or do you me personally, I think that people of an older generation need as much of a leg up as they possibly can get, because of the fact that there's such everything is so skewed, not just from the lack of knowledge of the social media aspect, but just from a generational standpoint. In my opinion, I think part of the thing that's hurting a lot of the older generation tattooers, unless they're well set in their ways and they've got a great clientele and they're at a good location.
Yeah.
I get that. Totally. That's never gonna be replaceable.
Nope.
But individuals that are kind of left on the outskirts and have been kind of like, oh no, we're good. We don't remember you. Or you do get remembered and you just get a phone, handshake and a photo.
Yes.
And then they fuck off and they bounce off and they get tattooed by the guy two booths down.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I wonder whether or not having a better knowledge of social media can help them, or do you think at this point it's really just generational and you hold on for as long as fucking possible, get all those kids that these people are having the moment they turn 18? Hey man, don't forget to bring your kid in here and let me mark that kid up.
I guess here's my thing that I'm kind of in the middle of, as I'm getting older and I'm getting busier with my family and like my time is limited. I don't want to slow down because I love tattooing. And the industry is slowing down. Guys that aren't involved in social media, I feel like you're missing out that opportunity to connect with your community in a different way. You don't have to be on social media to communicate with the world because you're thinking, I'm not going to get somebody from Prague to come get tattooed by me. No. But if you're on Facebook, I don't even fuck with Facebook. But if you're on Facebook,
you're entirely too young.
You're getting reminders of whose aunt's birthday it is today.
Right.
So why wouldn't you use that for the same thing? Who's getting tattooed by me today? Share it. It's a simple reshare, right? So I think don't miss the opportunity of using social media the same way as you would as handing your card out at the bar. If you're having a drink with your buddy and you see somebody who has a tattoo and you hand them your card, that should be forever. You should be able to do that forever. I think you should look at social media the same way. You don't have to be invested in crazy and be an influencer because nobody wants to do that. But what you can do is have a voice in your community. It'll remind your friends, your family, and their friends and family that hey, I'm here, and I would love to tattoo you. And it can just be as wholesome as you are in person,
right?
And just as productive, or maybe even more so, and to bring in a couple new people that you wouldn't necessarily get. You might get that soccer mom, but if you give them a good experience, that soccer mom's going to tell their kid or tell their girlfriend or tell their boyfriend.
I think that's as old
He's the guy.
That's as old as the hills in this business.
And so I think social media can just be a good extension of that. It doesn't have to be this daunting thing where, now I got to hire a filmmaker to come make shorts with me and I got to have all these hot takes.
Yeah, but the funny thing is you said before you do have a social media guru who's helping you out with filming and stuff.
I do that just for Ghostline.
Oh, just for the goals.
Honestly.
Yeah.
And when he's here, if I say something stupid, he'll film something. But yeah, I have that for Ghostline, honestly.
For other things.
But it's actually his idea. He's like, let's do some fucking follow you to the coffee shop. And I'm like, okay. Okay. Nobody cares, but I guess that's what matters. But don't negate the fact that for anybody, young or old tattooer, don't negate the fact that social media is here to stay. It's working for a lot of people. So find a lane that makes sense to you. You don't have to even spend money on it. Just utilize it. It's a good thing. Right. You know what I mean?
So let's go back to the show for a minute and the beginnings of your career. You won the show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that because it's kind of silly anyways. But
it was rigged.
Yeah, I wish I could say it was. That would make my life so much easier.
I believe you.
Well, dude, I remember the day that fucking Roman kind of half walked off.
Yeah.
Because of some shitty segment.
I can't imagine what production went through.
Dude, it was one of those situations when they came up to me and said, hey, you got to talk to Roman. I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't, I was always there, and unless I was in the fucking production room, I didn't get to see all the filming.
Sure.
And I guess his client just got skeeved out by him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were just like, yeah, she doesn't want to get tattooed by him, and he's being difficult, I guess, and he's talking about leaving, whatever. So can you talk to him? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I go in there, and I start talking to him, and he's a crude fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, she's a client. No matter how you look at it, you kind of have to. And he didn't. He was just like, what the fuck, dude? I said, I told her she was hot. I was going to use her for reference and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god, I don't even know where to begin with.
I didn't even know that part.
Yeah. And so finally she bounces and they bring in another person and he does that giant fucking pirate head.
Yeah,
I think he might have won that episode.
Probably.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I remember it ended up working out. Yeah,
it worked.
That sounds right.
But I think he went home like the next day. I think he was just done.
He was over it.
And
like,
because
this is stupid.
Well, I you know what the funny thing is, and this is the bummer of it is the fact that I think he honestly believed he was going to win.
Yeah.
And the second he smelled his own blood in the water, he went, "Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm not doing this."
Well, because we did slowly kind of talk we realized and talked about it like, oh, it's not talent only; it's a game show. Like, we could get voted off, and like it could come down to like some dumb technical game show rule things.
Well, but here's the thing with that: it never did. Like I remember, like in your season, like the second episode, I think it was the second episode. One of the gals, production hated her. They fucking hated her.
Really?
And they came up and they were just like, yeah, so we want to send such and such home tonight. And I'm like, that's cool. No.
Yeah.
And they're like, what
That's
do you
cute.
mean? And I'm like, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, she didn't do the worst tattoo. And they're like, yeah, no, but we want to send her home because she doesn't really work for us. I'm like, well, that's not my fucking problem. It's a fucking game show. Like, she does a bad tattoo, she gets home. Like, until she does a bad tattoo, she stays.
Correct.
And they were like, yeah, but it doesn't work for us. And I'm like,
ugh.
I don't know what to tell you then. You know what I mean? Like, you set the fucking rules. I didn't. And in the beginning, they tried to make it out like the rules mattered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting up there, and one of the big, tall, blonde chick comes walking out, and she's like, "Hi, Joe. I'm such and such. I'm one of the executives here, one of the producers here at the or network people here on the show." And I'm like, "Cool." And she goes, "Yeah. So we want to send such and such home." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not happening."
Yeah.
And she's just like, "Well, we really do." I'm like, "I don't fucking care." Now, keep in mind, this is also like my second week. The beginning of my second week there.
Oh, Jesus.
I am away from home. I am living in a fucking hotel room.
Yeah.
I am fucking miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
You're
happy.
miserable.
Yeah.
I was miserable.
I could imagine. I can imagine what you guys went through.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least you guys get to work. I'm sitting in a fucking room by myself
all
day long until they call you. So I was not happy. So they basically, she's just like, well, and I'm trying to explain to her, I'm like, yeah, like, lady, she's not going home. And then she's like, well, if you read your contract, it says that Oxygen has final say. I'm like, here's the thing. If you want her to go home so bad, you can fucking fire me and you can send her home.
Yep.
She's not going home tonight.
Yeah, not
and
with
I
me.
walked away. And the thing is, I didn't know they could actually, I mean, I was like, at that point, I was like, send me home.
Yeah.
Don't fucking care.
Correct.
And I think that set the bar after that, because then they started asking me questions about stuff. Because she did go home the following week.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't a great tattooer.
Yeah.
But she was like, I think she rolled in thinking, oh, I'm hot shit, and they're gonna love me. And I think production's like, oh, we can't have that. We need to have a thumb on this girl.
Fuck, I wonder who it was.
I can't remember her name. She's
it's been a while.
young, little tiny Hispanic girl.
Oh yeah. Because she wasn't loud.
No, she was, but she wasn't a great tattooer either. She got hired because of what she looked like, in my opinion.
Tiffany.
Oh, that makes sense. That sounds right.
Yeah, now she's great.
Oh, I don't know who she is.
I watched her like kind of come up. She's like somewhere in Miami, I think. She's great.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, she went home with that zombie tattoo.
Oh, fuck, I don't remember. Dude,
I remember.
It left such a bad... It left a scar, but I think it just rotted everything underneath the scar that took place there. It was hard, man.
Dude, it was hard. Hey, actually, you know what? Kudos to you for whatever reason. This was unspoken. Like, we didn't know each other. You busted my ass the whole time. You just knew, like, I was okay, and I cared. And I knew when I realized this isn't just skillful competition that's being judged. It was, we all present these tattoos, and then you guys look at them, and then we go back to a room, and then the cast picks their top 3 to send home.
Yeah, I remember.
When I realized, oh fuck, like there's a real chance like the best tattooers will go home because of that. It's like fuck. But this is what I'm getting at is I knew Capo Bianco's here. Capo Bianco is here, and he will protect at least the better tattoos. He will not buy into the bullshit. He will play by tattoo rules, not whatever this is.
Yeah,
I really knew that, and that made me feel better. Like that helped me get through a couple weeks.
Dude, well, because in all honesty, I didn't look at it from that perspective. I looked at it from the perspective of you guys are representing the business,
the tattoos.
Like you guys are representing us. So the idea that they bring in some nightmare, like, okay, so dude, I took the job because one of the people, I shouldn't say I took the job. I went and auditioned for the job because somebody they were considering hiring for it was someone I found unsavory. And I'm like, when I heard his name come up, I'm like, yeah, send him my name because I can't have that.
Oh, like, good for you, man.
Yeah,
I like that.
That was the other thing is I was like, I didn't want to really be part of something, but when I heard that was coming, because I guarantee that guy would have gotten hired.
Somebody's going to do it.
He's all mouth. He is what they wanted because he would do whatever they wanted. Oh. And I'm like, yeah, that can't happen, man. Who was it? That can't. We shouldn't talk.
You can cut it. I don't care.
No, I'm not going to cut it. It's Brandon Bond. Like his name came up. Like I got a heads up. And again, I don't know if they used that to fucking get my because they knew how much I had an issue with him. But I don't know.
No, they're not that sophisticated.
No, but the people who were reaching out for the network.
Oh.
I didn't hear from the network. I heard from somebody in the tattoo industry. And they were the one that reached out to me and said, hey, this production company, they're looking for tattooers. Your name's come up a couple of times. And I'm like, absolutely not interested. Because they said it was a competition show. And I'm like, not interested.
Yeah, lame.
And then they were like, okay, well, I'm just letting you know this guy, and this guy are also being brought in. And I'm like,
that changes things.
It's like, motherfucker. I was like, yeah, give him my name. And then and again, to be honest with you, for me personally, after it was all said and done, the way I felt good about it was the fact that I was nearly 400 fucking pounds. I had this tall, greasy fucking hair.
Yeah.
I did not. That. Yes. Well, it's not nearly as tall. But it was one of those things where it's like I wasn't the picture of tattoo in TV.
No.
And when I looked at it from that perspective, I'm like, if they hire me, they're hiring me A, because of my mouth, and B, because of my reputation and what I do. So to me, that was the thing that made me feel good about having done it and being on it and being picked.
Just being yourself.
Yeah, because it wasn't about because again, especially in today's society, everything is about appearances.
Yeah.
And I'm not one to say, body shaming, whatever. I get that's a fucking thing. But to be honest with you, it's like, yeah, man, when it comes to social media and when it comes to fucking television and movies and whatnot, unless you fit a certain mold, nobody fucking cares.
Yeah.
And I think that's shitty. I think it's a crappy fucking world we live in. Everybody should be based on who you are and what you're capable of and your personality. It shouldn't be about your appearances. How many fucking people in this business are complete fucking scumbags, but they get super far because of their appearance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it drives me personally out of my fucking mind because I've been seeing that for 35 fucking years.
Yeah.
And it bums me the fuck out.
Yeah, it's sad. It's like our values and character are kind of dumbed down by what we think people want us to be.
Oh, most certainly.
I
think the moment somebody sets eyes on somebody, judgments are being made.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Very few people get beyond that. And that was the thing. Like with me, it was like, producers and whatnot and writers were just like, oh, dude, you got such a character. I'm like, first of all, stop calling me a character. You know what I mean? Because this is who I am.
Yeah, I'm literally a human.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just me.
But to them, it's just a fucking thing. Oh, like fuck the shows. You win. If nobody didn't know, he won. But after that, you end up going back to you were working for DeRees at the same time.
Yeah.
When you left there, it was kind of weird because I remember going to visit you because I was in California doing production shit.
Yeah.
And I went and stopped and saw you at the shop. And, and at that time, you were kind of talking a bit of shit. Like you had the front guy there, Mike wasn't there.
Okay.
And you were kind of just
I think I was on the way out at that point.
You weren't feeling it anymore.
Well, I'm trying to remember exactly what went down, like timeline wise, because I went back after the show. I couldn't talk about what happened at the show,
which has got to be fucked up
for a year, right? Like our contract stipulated, like don't fucking say what happened to anybody, until it airs, right? And because we filmed summer of 11 and it aired spring to summer 12, like I'm just sitting there just doing my normal work, and people knew I went somewhere, so it was like be careful, whatever. But it just kind of got weird. It kind of got weird at the shop between Mike and myself. And I was a kid, and I will never say that I wasn't in the wrong because I was a kid and dumb. But I would like to think of myself as not somebody who's like a pompous, arrogant guy. I feel like I didn't come back thinking, "Oh, I'm the shit." Also, I wasn't talking about it, so it wasn't like, "Hey, no, I won this show."
It wasn't even the shop or Mike. It was something about the front guy, and it was the way you were speaking. I'm like, yeah, you don't talk like that in front of the fucking manager, especially when he's one of Mike's best friends. Like, even I was taken aback. I'm like, okay, I guess it's different out here in California. But I remember getting home like a couple of days later, and you would drop me a line being like, hey, guess who got fired today?
Oh, yeah, okay. So it got weird for sure. And yeah, I got let go. Yeah, and that's a whole other thing.
Oh, I can imagine. And if you don't want to talk about it, I totally understand. But
no.
All I remember was
I think that's the only reason you like this, like California kid, is that like I will talk to you.
Yeah.
Right. Like that shit, I'm not going to hold back on. I'm trying to remember exactly what you mean by the front guy thing, because
I thought it was
we didn't have a front guy. We had like
it was somebody that knows Mike really well, somebody Mike grew up with or something. And I remember you were saying stuff about the way the shop was being run.
Yeah.
It wasn't an attack against Mike, but it was something about the way the shop itself was being run, and you were saying it in front of him, and I'm like, all right, this is backroom shit. Like, you don't say this and you were just saying it like that, and I'm like, man, this motherfucker's got a death wish.
Maybe. Well, the only two people it would have been Jeff, who's my dear friend. He's an older tattooer, I think he was the one in the front station at that point, I think.
Well, this guy wasn't tattooing, whoever it was.
Oh.
They were just hanging around the shop.
Oh, it was... Okay.
And again, I might be mistaken. I thought you introduced him as somebody that knew Mike really well. I don't remember.
Maybe. Oh, fuck. Dude. It's not that I don't want to talk about it. I don't know. I'm really trying to, like, rack my brain.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just bringing it up as, like... Because I had gone home, and, like, literally a few days later, that's when you were like, yeah, I just got fired. And I'm like, holy shit.
And it wasn't that. Because Mike was cool enough to just tell me straight up, right? He's like, I don't know if I should air all of this, but
you don't have to. I mean, don't feel like you have to.
I don't. Mike let me go because he was disappointed with a few things. One of them being when I did the show, I did an interview after the show with, I don't know, one of the magazines, and said, hey, before I went on the show, I reached out to Nico because he had done all the TV shows prior,
right? And
I was kind of friendly with Nico at that point, and just said, hey, do you have any recommendations? I think I'm doing this fucking show. Do you have any like advice? Because I know you've done all these things. So he was nice enough to share some stuff with me. Really good insight. He's like, don't talk shit if you don't want it to be fucking on camera. He's like, they will record the audio for everything. And that stuck with me, right? So I'm like, this is exactly why I called him. Thank you, right? So I shared that in an interview after I went. And
you think Mike got slighted by that?
He told me. That's what he did.
Slighted. Wasn't Mike actually the guy that they were relying upon at that in the beginning for the first round of picks?
Yeah, they hired him as a consultant of some sorts. I don't know all the stipulations of that.
I was told later on, like, that the first season he was involved, and then the second season you were involved.
He was way more involved as far as I know. Like, he went in and like whatever, and he mentioned that he's like I helped you get on the show, and I'm like, you never told me that. Like, you just said you got whatever, right? So I was young, not really having the big picture of what was all going on, other than I was just excited to maybe get a commercial on this show. Mike, I think, really did help push me through, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for everything I've learned from Mike. But when he let me go, he brought that up. He's like, I helped you get on the show. And I'm like, what is this really about? You know, like I was like, what? I'm like, I've brought you a lot of money. I've never asked you for more of a wage, a number, or whatever. And he was like, well, honestly, it's like you went on the thing, and like you said Nico helped you, and I'm like, I asked Nico for advice because he'd been on TV before. Yeah. And I was like, if this is what this is, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. Can I finish my tattoo? He fired me in the middle of a session. Oof. Yeah. And
that's old school too.
That's old school. Like... And you know what? I love him for all of it. Right. In the moment, it was hot. I was like sad, but. He did me the greatest thing. He humbled me. Like, the show hadn't even come out yet It hadn't.
And you got fired.
And I get fired. So I couldn't even ever get to a place of where I was too cool.
Right.
I never could. And I worked with Josh Duffy and Jeff Johnson, who, two of my favorite people. Josh Duffy is literally one of the best tattooers ever of all time. And there was no place for me to get a big head.
Right.
And when I left and hadn't talked to Jeff in a while, I saw him like months later, like 6 months later, and we caught up a little bit. And he goes, I just love that none of this shit went to your head. And I was like, it's because of you, motherfucker. It's because of you. I had guys that wouldn't allow this dumb kid who got lucky to get a hot head in front of me.
You're a product of your environment.
I'm grateful for that.
You know as well as I do.
It's true.
If you're one of these artists that has nothing, it does nothing but to get his dick sucked, and people chat him up, because I mean, the one thing I've often told
we've
people,
all seen it.
You don't ever listen to what your clients have to say. Your clients are going to think that you could do a pile of shit on that person. You know for a fact you did a pile of shit on it. They absolutely fucking adore it. Their friends fucking adore it.
Yep.
You don't listen to that. You don't listen to the person wearing the tattoo. You, as as an individual, judge your shit. If you want to listen to what other people have to say, other tattooers, your peers,
yes,
totally understandable.
Yes.
But when it comes right down to it, you're the one that has to sit back and live with that tattoo and know, I did a good fucking job. When you know you did a poor job and you still act like it's amazing, then you're fucked up and you've made the mistake.
I can't sleep at night. I can't sleep at night if I can see any of that shit, right? And I do see that shit, so I don't sleep a lot. That's one thing, dude. I so appreciate that, and that's why you're the perfect middle ground of old school and new school, because you see the trends, you have knowledge of how it's made, why it won't work, why it does, or why it does work, and also what all of the good stuff came from.
Well, but that's the thing. I think that's part of the reason I try to keep in touch with younger generation tattooers, is because it is hard at this point, because nothing I know makes any fucking sense anymore. We're not living the we're not living the type of life, that's not life that we used to live. Like the rules that we came up with no longer matter.
No, because all the culture.
In the grand scheme of things. In the grand scheme of things, they don't matter anymore. I mean, to a small group of tattooers, it totally does. There is a group that still go by Lord of the Flies.
Yes.
Like, this is the way it's done, or we're gonna eat your fucking liver.
Dude, it's very, very, very good analogy. It really is. It doesn't matter anymore in the same way, because tattooing has changed, but all of culture around tattooing has changed too. So it's not like all tattooers have changed it for the worse or whatever. It's not like that. Like, all tattooers are coming into tattooing with the world around them influencing it, right? So even myself, like, I came into tattooing even before that, when I was really getting interested in tattoos and the culture and the community and like buying every goddamn magazine. This is 25 years ago, 30 years ago. There weren't TV shows. The internet wasn't what it is and what it quickly became, right? So ever since then, it's just been rapid fire change.
Yeah.
And so every tattooer that comes into it has experienced a different culture than the year before.
Yeah.
For the last 20 years, right? So you don't sound like an old guy who's like just salty because it's all changing. Like, oh, I hate it. Blah, blah. No, you have your reality, but you also have, I would say, like a pretty good perspective on understanding. Yeah, skill is skill, talent's talent, integrity matters regardless of what fucking technology's going through.
Right.
Like, all that matters more than anything. So you can see objectively through the bullshit and know, like, hey, if you have integrity and you know where you come from and where your forefathers come from and where things come from, then I don't give a fuck what you call yourself, and I don't care what part of the world you come from. If you're fucking cool and your work's good, like, that's all that matters.
Right.
They're gonna be busy eventually.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, it's all fucking dumb, clicky human drama.
But that's why I bring up the whole social media thing and the clicks and everything else, is because a lot of that, unfortunately, where before it kind of mattered a little bit,
it did. Yeah.
It matters a lot more now. It seems, because one of the things, like, I did the Explorer tattoo thing a few years ago.
Yeah, which I've heard such great things.
I've heard good. I was there. I agree with some of it. I don't agree with a lot of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But whatever. I'm not going to shit on them. I mean, good for what they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And for the generation of people that are coming into the business now, I think that's what they want. That's what they need, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I took away from that the most was it's the clicks that make a lot of those people not great, but it gets them one step further. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The nice thing about having friends is you have shoulders to climb on.
Yeah.
And they're bending the knee willingly to get you to the next step, as opposed to you came up on the backs of other people and you've never even acknowledged that.
Yeah.
Which is something we're seeing a lot of as well. And that's where I do kind of come off as being the old fuck. That's just kind of like, you know what, fuck you. You wouldn't be anywhere near where you are now had it not been for, you know, for Jack Rudy's and the fucking, the Freddie Negretti's, myself, fucking Guy Aitchison, like all those fucking guys.
Yep.
You know, so there is that, you know what I mean? But what I noticed with the Explorer people, guys, people like Teresa Sharp, Kelly Doty, you know, a million fucking of them, you know?
Yeah.
Those people, they know to stay in groups. They know that there's safety in numbers. They're like fucking dolphin pods, for fuck's sake.
Sure.
It's like they know if they want to get further, you got to stick as a group.
Yeah.
So they're quick to take their friends and make them the next big name, even though they may not deserve. And nobody wants to hear that, obviously.
Correct.
But a lot of the times, I don't think those people should be up there. I'm like, why is he talking? Like, and I'm not saying just those people from Explorer. I did the World Tattoo Conference. There was a couple of people up there that I'm just kind of like, I don't want to hear this. He shouldn't be talking.
They're just the extension of the big group.
Exactly, because it's not even so much their extension of the big group. They're a big name.
Yes.
And people know, promoters know that if you want asses in the seats in the audience, you got to get the big names up there. My problem doesn't matter how great of a tattooer is. If he's not a good speaker, he shouldn't be trying to teach. And that's another issue that with the Explorer, let's say.
Yes.
There's a couple of people who teach things that I don't think most of these people should be fucking hearing.
Yep.
Because first of all, I don't think half of it matters, because I'm one of those people. I'm going to be the guy that says you don't need 19 fucking reds to do a tattoo this fucking big.
Yes.
Sorry, that's just me being old manish, but I think it's ridiculous. I think it matters for the first 3 months of the tattoo, and then after that, it don't mean a goddamn thing, because it's going to turn into red.
That's a fact.
You know, so it's one of those things. Like, I get why they do it. I get that there are people out there who think that it makes sense. I just think overall, in the long term, when it comes to making a great tattoo, it doesn't mean a shit thing.
It doesn't. I will say, I have to remember to, I have to remind myself a lot, is that like a conference like that, it's well intended. But at the baseline, it's still about making money.
Yes.
Right? Like, we live in a capitalist nation. We live in a capitalist world.
We had this conversation next door.
Yeah.
By the way, if you guys could have been a fly on the wall at the restaurant next door.
We could keep it going forever.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I'm trying to remind myself that stuff, too. It's like, that conference exists because somebody thought, I want to do a good conference, and I want to make money doing it. How do I make money, and how do I make it better than anything, or let me do something new, right? Because it was kind of new. And, maybe it's not every tattooer that you think should have a voice, and I totally get that. But I'm going to still respect that they're doing something different. They're doing something trying to be better, and it is. And the vast majority of the people speaking actually are influential and have something to say that is good. And that's why you were asked to be there. You're one of them.
Here's the difference. I wasn't asked back.
I don't think everybody gets asked back.
Well, but that's why I think it's funny. And again, I think part of it too is
it is funny.
Because I realize a lot of the way in which I speak, the people that are being attracted to those events don't necessarily want to hear me speak. Like when you, not so much on my podcast, but on other podcasts that I've done, when I speak, there's a split. There's a fucking line that you can see where there are people on this side of the conversation and there are people on this side of the conversation. Sure. It's pretty equal. You know what I mean? But it is one of those situations where you're not going to attract a lot of these people. They're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
We don't want to hear what you have to say. And this side's going, oh no, someone needed to say that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here to say it. But the problem being is these are the ones going to the fucking seminar.
Yeah.
The workshops. These motherfuckers just go like, fuck that.
Yes.
So they're great. And they think that, maybe you'll get some of these guys over here to come here. And I'm like, dude, do you ever see greasers and fucking and socias do you really want that at your fucking...
You don't.
Someone's going to get stabbed, you know?
Well, and so, but that's also, they're just looking at demographics, right? Like,
most certainly. And I get it. I don't fit that demographic. I think if you want to make... put it this way. You don't invite me to the pool party unless you want a fucking grease slick running through the middle of your fucking pool. Because the moment I jump in, this shit fucking going to make a mess. But it's one of those things like...
You come in my pool anytime, dog. I don't have a pool.
That's a good way to invite somebody. It's like, yeah, come by anytime. Oh, by the way, I got a pool. There's the ocean right across the street.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that there are certain people that fit that mold. I definitely don't, but I'm happy to know that at least I'm still in the game, like where people still do recognize.
Yeah, man.
Again, I wish I was a little bit busier, but whatever. I mean, that's the world we're in now.
I mean, everybody does. Everybody does. Yeah. I will say, you're like. Not just like greasing, yeah. You're like crucial to modern tattooing.
I don't know about crucial.
Stylistically, you're crucial to where tattooing has come from and what it is now. There's a very, very select few of artists whose work and style and circling back, like persona is a big part of where tattooing's at, and that part of tattooing is something I'm very proud of. Is because of guys like you. You're a very, very select few that have had that much influence on tattooing. And you didn't think, I'm a new school tattooer. You're a tattooer who just had your own voice in tattooing.
Yeah, just wanting to make a living, man.
And there's a very few guys, like group of guys and girls like yourself that did exactly that, and a genre came from it. And so... kudos to you for having that influence and never kind of backing down onto who, as far as who you are and what you stand for. Because guys like me coming up, like I looked at tattooers with, like adulation and like I had this revelry for tattooing and for the guys that were influential and that guys were like making trends, creating literally trend setting. You're one of them. And I remember looking at like Jimmy and Tony,
yeah.
And then like a little bit later, I'd see Lars, and I'd see Uncle Alan, and then
which is funny because I think they've been doing it as long, if not longer, than us. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because we were big on them. Like I think with those guys, you had it really took going to Europe at that time back in the day because the publications were especially from Europe, was so sporadic.
Yes.
That unless you were there, you didn't really get a chance to.
And
get
they didn't come here,
yeah.
And if they did, they didn't speak English.
Exactly.
So they didn't communicate with anybody.
Yeah.
So the fact that you paved way for that too, for like all the guys that are also the greats from Europe, like you guys going there, you guys like being loud and like being willing to talk to like magazines, and sharing your shit,
yeah.
Gave them credence to feel like, oh, that's what I got to do. I need to do conventions and I need to have interviews, and like it or not, like tattooing's grown because of you.
I mean,
double-edged sword.
I'd like
right?
to think a little bit, but I mean, not as much. To me, I think it was good. It's happening no matter what. And then that's the scary thing about what's happening today is
you're right.
Things are going to continue to go no matter what. No matter what we do. Like somebody asked me recently, well, what do we do? How do we get around this? How do we get to the next level without hurting everybody? I was like, dude, at this point, this is like a bucking bronco. Bucking bronco. Bucking bronco. It's just going.
Yes.
And you hold on,
yes.
Or you get run over. And at this point, I think that's what we're at now.
Survival.
We're just holding on, yeah.
I don't disagree. And I meant that all only in like the way of like the artistic progress of like it became something you could be an identifiable artist within this medium
right.
That is so beloved, but also on top of that, having like some integrity and character that like, I don't know, maybe because I still love the old school stuff, it's like, that's a motherfucker I fuck with. That's a guy who's keeping it real. That's not this dumb shit. He will talk shit to your face and he will shake your hand at the end of it, and he's good and you can't argue it. And he has a fucking voice in the industry, visually and literally. Like that's the shit I love, and you're it,
Well, I think it's just the idea. I hope that somebody else picks it up and continues it.
Bingo.
Know what I mean? So from leaving Mike's or being let go from Mike's, you end up at Vatican, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, that's funny. I forgot about this till right now.
You were there for quite a few years, no?
Yeah. I was at DeVries for 4 years to the month. And then my wife and I, my new wife and I, were considering staying in LA or moving back home to Orange County. So we did decide to move back home to Orange County, and I actually hit you up. I think it was the day I told you I was fired.
It literally was. Like I said, I got home from California maybe a day or two earlier.
Yeah.
And you were just like, hey, guess who got fired? And I'm like, what? And the worst part is I wasn't surprised because, like I said, it was a weird conversation that day. I walked out of there going, what? Is he trying to get fired? Is he picking a fight with somebody?
Maybe. I mean, maybe you saw it, and I was just too young and dumb to realize what I was doing. But I was well intended for the most part. But it did, at least if nothing else, it fast tracked what my wife and I had decided. Okay, we're gonna move home. Eventually, I'll start a shop. We're gonna raise our family where we grew up, which is what we did. But when I was talking to you, I said, hey, before I open up a shop, I've been in LA for 4 or 5 years. I think it'd be smart if I kind of like sow my, put my roots down back in Orange County at a nice shop. Do you know anybody?
And the reason why Franco came up was because I was just out at Bishop or at Vatican, which was like the seeds of Bishop. Because at that time, Bishop was just like a room in the back.
Building machines upstairs.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had just come from there, and Franco was talking to a woman down this end that he was like, I'm thinking about buying this shop on the beach.
Yeah.
And
it's right by my house.
I don't know if I want to. I'm not really sure, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man, whatever. And then literally you call me and I'm like, dude, I just talked to Franco. You might want to talk to him because I think he's got an opportunity for you. Yep. And then next time I come to California, you're working at Bishop.
That's exactly right.
At Vatican, yeah.
And dude, yeah, you're right. I remember that conversation. He was cool in that he brought that up quickly. He's like, yeah, there's this shop, and maybe if we want to open that up together. It was cool. And I remember thinking, I don't know Franco. I wanted to hit up Franco and the Vatican because I know that the name of that shop really carries a lot of respect. And I remember telling you I want to hit him up. I just don't know him, and I don't want to assume I can just walk in and blindly approach that situation. Maybe that's the that little knowledge of the old school stuff that I have.
Well, I think it's just you're not an egomaniac. I mean, a lot of people go to shops now and they're just kind of if they have a book. Apparently, kids today don't have books. But if they pull their phone out and say, "Hey, you want to check my workout? Here's my Instagram."
I got my book.
Exactly. So, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that humbleness and that understanding that your shit may stink a little,
or quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad. I think that lack of ego or that humbleness is not a bad thing, not a bad trait.
Well, thanks. But you were nice enough to say, I'll give the guy a call and see if it makes sense. And he ends up calling me and saying, hey, a friend of Joe's is a friend of mine. Why don't you come down? We'd love to have you. And so what was going to be a 6 to 12 month stay, I ended up staying there for 4 years, almost exactly to the month.
That shop is gorgeous. I remember walking in there and just being like, "Holy shit, this place is crazy."
Yeah, you're like, "Where am I?" Yeah, in the middle of this industrial center. It's really lovely, and it's a great studio, and the artists there are awesome, and it's like a rotating door of talent.
I was gonna say it keeps growing, and because of the supply company, I would imagine even more so now. Yeah, he's got more and more people coming through the door, Europeans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and that's a great thing to offer as a shop owner. And
what a cool model that just happened to become. Not a master plan.
Yeah, I think that was happening no matter what because you had so many people from overseas wanting to come here, needing a place to work. And then that just feeds the artists that are here.
100%. 100%. Yeah. You get to build your name just because he's doing his thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that worked. And so I ended up staying way longer than anticipated because this is wonderful. Then me and my wife were like, okay, let's have kids. I don't want to be far from work, and far from home. I want to be close because I was 35 minutes away.
Right.
So then it was kids, let's do it. Let's open up this shop.
Well, this place is gorgeous, man. And it's funny because when I was coming down here, I didn't know where you were going to be down here because it is a beach community.
Yeah.
And it's not something you would imagine. Is this considered more of it's got to be a destination kind of shop, right?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Look at this. What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
The fun is here. Well, now we got an audience.
Yes, yes. Do you want some backup story?
I'm kidding.
Stage, no?
That's up to him. This is his show.
I will just interview for a little bit.
You're good.
Okay, I don't recall where we left off.
Doesn't matter.
So we just got to
skip that part.
We just had a friend come into the studio. Again, working studio, always a good thing. People coming and going.
Yes.
You know what? I'm not sure where we left off. Do you remember? You recall?
I think maybe we're talking about. I moved back home. I was at Vatican for 4 years.
Right. So you're at Vatican. So when you decided to leave Vatican, the idea was, it's funny because you just mentioned small studio, no partners, do your own fucking thing. Did you already own a house down here, or so you already did?
Yeah. So when my wife and we got married in LA, and we decided to move home to Orange County so we could start a family and have our little family community, move near her parents, and we decided to move back to the beach because I wanted to just be by the beach. I love the ocean. So does my wife. And so we moved back here. We bought a condo right up the street from here, and I was at the Vatican, and that was only going to be a year-ish, just to kind of get my roots back down in Orange County for clientele.
Right.
And
you said you were there for 5 years?
I ended up being there a little over 4, and because it was just great, and I was comfortable, and it was awesome. The shop's beautiful.
I mean, tattooers also tend to be they're all about convenience,
comfortability,
and routine.
Yeah. And it just didn't get much better, but it got to the point where, okay, let's have kids, and so we started. I think we had my first daughter when I was at the Vatican, and I was a 30-minute drive, and I just was I don't want to be that far in case there's an emergency from my kid.
Which is understandable. I mean,
yeah, you turn over to the dad's mentality in a lot of ways, and it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't a burden. It was just okay, now it's time. Now it's time to look for.
Oh no, I think that you go through, especially with family, you go through stages. It's as tattooers especially, you get caught up in moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With me, my first 4 years of my career was just getting my feet wet, learning the trade, and then once I got to travel, it got me moving and leaving New York for the first time, literally leaving New York and being able to work someplace.
Yeah.
It opens, your horizon just blows open.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And before you realize, you're oh my God, why would I want to go home?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, it was just now I'm on the road and I get to see all this stuff and I'm this is amazing.
The best.
And I'm meeting all these new people and I'm making money and I'm getting better as a tattooer and I'm growing as a person. I'm growing in with the popularity of what I am and who I am.
Yeah.
And then you meet, I met my wife Alethea, and it's everything just keeps rolling, and you never think to go backward.
Never.
But a family, I would imagine, that's got to be pretty fucking grounding.
That was exactly what I was going to say. It was grounding because, I'm victim to the tattoo thing, right? I started traveling, not just because I wanted to travel. Tattooing allowed me to go all over the world. I mean, there's 2 shows in a city somewhere in the world every weekend of the month.
Oh God! Now there's
all year
it's
round.
6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I was so I started learning. I could go here and then bounce to there and bounce to there and bounce to there, and I would be gone for 6 weeks at a time. And it was the shit. You guys know, it really is like you said, it's eye-opening. It's so fulfilling. It's so dope, and it was the most fun part of my career.
The fact that you can make money everywhere you go
and do guest spots and meet all these new friends in the middle, and you can make money and have fun every night of the week.
Yeah,
anywhere in the world.
I think that's probably the biggest lure. It's coming here and immediately going into old time Joe.
Yeah.
You're just I'm gonna go out to dinner tonight.
Yep.
And I'm gonna day drink today, and I'm gonna go out to see this guy tomorrow night, and I'm gonna do. And before you know it, you're dude, pump the fucking brakes.
Yeah, I'm tired. And I'm spending all my money.
You're in your mid-50s now, dude. You better fucking chill the fuck out,
You're going to have to sleep all day to catch up.
No, that's the worst part. No, it's funny, man. I was talking to somebody recently, and I had just come back from somewhere and literally got home, and my friends were hey, we're down at the Owl. You want to come down? I'm yeah, I'll be down there later. And I'm leaving my shop, and my manager's looking at me, and she's where are you going? I'm I'm going to the Owl, meet the guys. And she goes, you just got home. You've been on the road for fucking 6 days. You just dropped your gear off, did a tattoo, and now you're going out again? And I'm like, well, the guys are at the bar. And you realize it's like, you're 56 years old, dude. Stop. But again, man, I'm a firm believer. It's like, if you keep going that way, there's no place else to go.
Correct.
So it's like I think when you stop and you settle down is when things start to kind of, I don't want to say go south, but I mean...
No, they slow down.
Yeah, they slow down, they change.
Well, also, you're 56. One day you're going to be 76. So now is the time to do it.
If you can't get it in now, dude, it's
Have
like...
fun, my dude.
I mean, again, you look back on everything and you just want... I want to be memorable. I want it to be memorable for me. I don't want to say I want to be memorable. That's not right. But I want to look back on everything and say, yeah, you did all that stuff. Like, Jack Rudy's thing this past weekend, and I don't want to dwell on that, but it was a major thing, and it's the reason why I'm out here.
Yep.
Jack passed, and, coming out here, at first I was like, man, do you really need to go out there? Like, I don't, I can't, can't really afford it. This is the last thing you should be doing.
Yeah.
But by the same token, it's like, yeah, dude, like, you need to go out there. You need to hang out with these people. You need to see these people. And it wasn't for closure at this point. It was really just to see, yeah, man, I wanted to see these people and be part of this whole thing.
Yeah, and you are a part of this whole thing.
And it was amazing.
Good for you, man. I love that. And yeah, like we're all gonna have years where we're tight and it's like worse than others and all that. But like if you're not living, why are you living?
Right. Exactly.
And so yeah, I think, and that's the tattooer ethos, right? Like money will come and go, and if you're smart, you can make it through pretty much anything. I'm two recessions in now.
I was gonna say, if you have 2 recessions and a pandemic.
Yeah, and a pandemic. Yeah.
And the shop was open during pandemic, yeah?
No.
Oh, you weren't open at that point. No, I don't mean open. Did you actually have the shop open before pandemic happened?
Oh, yeah.
So you went through that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a big deal, man. I mean,
the government was saying, here's $2,000 to get by, and I'm like, my family's health insurance is $3,000. So what do you want me to do? So I learned how to day trade, and I made art. I made commissioned art for 6 months.
You're a better man than me, because I will admit that I was a little bit unsavory during fucking. I mean, we did what we had.
I was too. I grew a beard and gained.
No, I don't mean that. I mean
10 pounds of fucking beard.
We still did the
Oh, I told my guys to come in. Yeah.
It was one of those things. It was like I either do that or I close the doors.
Bingo.
We did what we had to do.
Everybody did what.
Unfortunately, not everybody in my shop was able to, but for the most part, we were able to do enough to keep the doors open. And now we're in today, and we're dealing with the next bullshit.
Yeah, the next wave.
Yeah,
the next wave. Yeah, no, I'm grateful, but being a tattooer is what got me through not being able to tattoo that whole time.
Yes.
Right. Cool. Well, what am I good at? Not much, but I can draw. I'm not retarded, so I will start learning how to make money daily.
Oh, that was clever, dude.
I sold over 100 original drawings and paintings. I day traded it and paid my mortgage or paid the shop rent without ever having to ask for any free money.
So that was another thing. Like everybody was like, "Oh, you should do this. You should do this." I'm like, dude, I'm not going in a hawk over this.
I don't want to have debt.
Yeah, exactly.
For no one.
Yeah, exactly.
So I made it work, and I'll tell you what, it's derived from being a tattooer, and it's derived from my third kid, my baby girl, was born the day the world shut down.
Oh, wow.
March 12th, 2020. So it was like, okay, no, you have no room to be scared. It's figure it the fuck out.
Well, that's a really good way of putting it, because I mean, a lot of what we deal with on a regular basis, whether it be an actual tattoo,
yes, which is hard enough,
if it just deals with how we deal with the shop, how we deal with an employee, how you just have, there's no book, there's no way of figuring it out, and everybody in this trade does it differently.
Yep.
So you just do what makes most sense for you.
Yep. Well, and you lean in on the wisdom that you were given by your friends like Joe here, who was willing to like take my phone call when I asked, hey, do you have any recommendations for when I start a shop? Do you have any advice on this or that, right? So I've been lucky enough to have some of my elders my peers that are elders that have way, way more knowledge on this industry than I ever could share it with me. Like nice enough to share it with me. And I don't know if it's just because they felt bad, like this kid needs my help, or if I earned a little bit of that fucking shared knowledge, but I'll take it and I'll never forget it.
I think that's the beauty of this business tattooers are the best of the worst.
Yeah.
Because there are other people that you're going to call. They're going to be like, "Where are you opening up?" Hey, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
I'm not answering. Yeah, exactly. Go fuck you. I'm not helping you open up,
dude. Oh, so true.
But other guys are just kind of they're going to be like, "Yeah, dude, do it, man." Because when I come out to California, I want a place to fucking work.
Fucking A. I want a buddy to go drink with after a day of work.
Yeah.
So I just told this to somebody the other night, and I'll share it again. And it's what I remember from somebody telling me what you've given me and what other nice guys in my life and women have given to me in my life. It's if a man or woman is willing to take the time to look you in the eye and tell you something that matters to them that they think matters to you, you fucking listen. And I appreciate that I've been given that like insight. So like when somebody I look up to that I respect, like yourself, will look me in the eye and tell me something, it means something, and that's it. So fucking take it.
Well, it's nice to hear somebody of your generation say that. but because that is a thing. Like if you think about it, a lot of the hurdles that individuals in our, whether it be old guys or young guys, a lot of the hurdles you run into are other people that you have to deal with on a daily basis, other peers that you sit back and some, like I said, some give pushback and some help you out. You know what I mean? So I think it's a matter of surrounding yourself with good people. I think what we're finding the most now, even guys who hated each other back in the day, are starting to realize, man, the herd's thinning.
Yeah.
So I think it would be incumbent upon us to maybe make sure that we're all on,
we're cool.
That we're all cool with each other when the shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And this is something I've talked about on several times. There's still people out there I absolutely fucking hate. That's never going to go away.
No.
Like you said, East Coast, whatever. But it's true. Those people do exist. But I mean, I am a lot more lenient to certain things because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's growth too as a human also, right?
Yeah. But tattooers are only partly human.
We're stunted for sure.
Yeah, we're incapable of growth.
Grown man children for sure.
Fuck's sake. So the shop's been here since, what'd you say, 2017? 2016.
Yeah, I got the keys in October 16, opened November 13th, 16. And so, we're eight-ish years in.
And there's four guys you work with, including, how many guys have been here since day one?
Nobody. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to have 2 years seems to be the average turnaround with guys these days, which I gathered is actually pretty good compared to most shops around nowadays.
Certain shops,
around here. So I'm grateful for the guys that have worked here. We've had some stellar artists, including the guys that are here now. I had really good, guys to look up to that I worked alongside or have just befriended over the years. It's like, hire the people you want to work with, do what you can to make them want to stay. And I've just never taken it upon myself to be a boss. It's more like the shop will be clean, the shop will be stocked, you do what you want, and that's how they're happy, right?
I think that's the best of the worst ways to run a business. That's how I run mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I work with these guys. I've been fortunate that Eric has been with me for, we're going on 22 years. Wow. And I worked with him for a year at Darkside before we opened Hope.
Yeah.
So we've been together for 23, and I've known him for 25, 26 now. Actually, that's not true. I've known him longer than I've known my wife,
Yeah, that's your boy.
And then I think I've only had to fire 2 people in the whole time we've been around, which is 22 years now.
Same.
And which is great, And the other guys, I mean, I work with, it's 8 tattooers and 1 front person, Awesome. And that girl's been with me for 10 years now.
Wow.
Going on 11 years, which is shocking, you know what I mean? I think it's because it is a pretty chill spot.
Yeah.
We're not trying to, I mean, I don't put any pressure on anybody. I just ask people to put themselves in the other guy's shoes.
Yeah.
And
just be on time,
exactly, and just do what I would do. Treat me the way I would treat you. Or basically treat the other person the way you want to be treated.
I will say the olive branch to the younger generation, like my generation of tattooers and much younger. It's like they get that more than the old generation did. Like treat people nicely, like that little like classic tattooer thing has seemed to die down. Like I'm not worried about like, oh, if I'm not there, he's gonna be like a shit talker, like the rough around the edges guy. I'm like a little nervous about like the soccer moms coming in on. That seems to have like really died down.
Oh,
and that's maybe the one really good thing that's kind of died out of like old school tattooing.
Yeah. So yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that shops have to run in a certain way. I do dig going into certain shops where the dude sitting in the chair does not give a fuck who walks in. Exactly. Who doesn't give a fuck who walks in the door.
I'll never not like it.
It is a throwback to what it used to be like. And I do enjoy that. But I agree. People in our shop are not like that. That's why I have a front person that is capable of answering questions and whatnot. And the guys know, like, and they know full well that if a client comes in that's going to be difficult, because that's happened, that I've got their back before I've got the client's back. I'm not one of these people that's like, you know.
I saw your video. I saw the long one.
Dude,
goddamn right.
Yeah, I've lost my shit on some people, and again, I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong in thinking that way. I think that fact of the matter is, it's a public service, it's a personal service business, but we all know that there's two sides to every fucking story, and if I can hear both sides, and again, in the world we are in today, like, clients are not what they used to be. Like, we don't have the control over clients that we used to once have. No. And I know that sounds shitty to anybody who's listening who thinks that's me talking down to clients. It's not. It's just that there was a way that things used to be done, and it's not done that way.
Well, we used to be looked at more as like a plumber or electrician of like, dude, just do what you need to do to make it great. That's all we want. Right. That was the old tattoo.
Oh, we used to be the professionals.
Exactly.
If we told you something, there was a reason for that, but now...
And you respected it.
Exactly, but now people come at you and it's like, well, you know, I see TV and Hart and Huntington, they did a whole fucking...
Nunez
Nunez said this, and Oliver fucking doesn't like when people do this, and it's just like, it's a fucking stupid TV show, man.
It's different. It's different.
You know? So it's ridiculous.
And I do agree. You stand by your crew. I've never had a situation where I picked a customer over my guys.
Right.
I would have a talk afterwards,
and that's
because I have to manage my shop. It's like, hey, so next time, right? But that's just being productive, and that's just gross.
It's not even so much being productive. It's also because the fact is, even as a shop owner, there are things that the guys need to understand. It's like, while you do have their back, they also need to work and act in a response in a way in which you can defend.
Yes,
if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Because it still is a business that my name's attached to.
Yeah, not even your name, everybody's name.
So while I don't want anybody to look at it as somebody else's shop, this is your shop. You work here. This is your studio.
Yeah.
I want you to remember the power of that. One situation can change like your name and your like reputation based on where you work.
Exactly.
And I know, I understand that. So like, yeah, for me, it hasn't been hard. Like I've been able to hire guys that I either knew already or instantly felt good about, like how they communicated with me and how they quickly, I learned, communicated with their customers. I've just never had any real issues. It's just minor things. But it's nice to just be able to talk to them like, hey, next time let's do this or whatever.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be that hard.
I think it's important. I think it's also good for when clients come through the door, there's not always a rotating table of individuals coming and going in your shop, because it shows the comfort that the client, that the tattooers have working with you, and it'll also reflect on the clients when they come in and they recognize the faces in every chair.
Yeah, and that's actually been like the unknown. One of the things I didn't really realize before starting a shop that I've learned to really love is, when my client comes in and he walks in and he brings donuts and he goes, "Hey Dan, what's up, buddy? I brought bagels or whatever," Or like in the midday, somebody walks in just to like do a healed photo shoot or whatever, and it's like they want to hang out and they check in with everybody. I didn't really think of it before starting a shop, like how cool that was. That like there's like an external little community being built.
To have that thing with the comfort where people are cool with coming in and hanging out. It's something we're losing. I mean, back in the day, it was a lot more. There was a lot more of it.
Yes.
Now, I think people are A, they don't have the time, and B, a lot of them don't feel comfortable. Like, I don't want to fucking
I don't want to intrude.
I don't want to intrude and
Yeah.
whatnot. But every now and again, people do like hanging out in tattoo shops because it is a cool environment usually to hang out. It's usually cool music playing. And,
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You know, it's usually cool music playing. There's great stuff to look at on the walls. It's a great environment to hang in.
It is. Yeah, I wish it was exactly what it was. But it'll never be. It'll never be the same.
No, I think it's just different angles. It's just going to be different angles of what we came in with. And again, it's up to you to keep it alive. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not going to do it with like my teeth grit, but I'm going to definitely try.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, you don't want to force anything either. That makes no sense.
I agree.
Well, to get away from, it's not getting away from tattooing, but
no.
You've had a bunch of little projects that you've worked on that are benefiting the business. You had sent me a light kit that I guess Bishop was selling, but it was your light kit through Bishop.
Yeah.
So what are some of the products that you were selling, started selling, or no longer selling? I don't know what, but what are some of the things that you're working on that people probably know about or might be interested in?
Yeah, that was a few years ago now. I kind of became privy to the polarization of like lights and camera lenses and stuff, so we could all start taking photos that didn't look like shit, right? So before it became commonplace in the industry, I realized there's no like tattoo product version of this. So I came up with a cool idea of how to make it like a mobile thing, right? And so I was already not working at Bishop and Vatican anymore, but I approached Franco about this idea that I had because he already had this distribution channel through his Bishop, supply company. So I approached him, had a meeting with him, I was kind of like surprising him. So I showed him this whole idea, the whole business plan layout, and he thought I was just approaching him as a friend, like for advice. And then I showed him like a little like mock-up slide that had a Bishop Bishop logo on it with like the product, and he's like, "Oh, I see what's up. You want to bring me in on this?" And I'm like, "I want to see if you're interested." And so he's like, "Dude, I was gonna offer you any help I could give you, but like I think this is a great idea." Yeah, cool. So we teamed up together and we brought that product to market, and it's done pretty well over the last few years. And I'm stoked about it.
And this is like a dual light system with like a cradle and...
Yeah. So it's like a little unit. It's called the Illuminati little light kit. And it's just so you have all the things you have at the shop for like lighting your photos of your final tattoo and making sure it's not glary and stuff. So you can just take quick, easy shots with all the nice things that your like nice fancy lights and camera can do. If you're on the road or if you're doing a guest spot and they don't have the setup, it's just a quick, easy little setup, plug it on your phone, take your photos, and get the fuck out so you can go and have fun.
This is one of those things that was like, this is one of those subjects that kind of caught fire when it came to the fact that people are taking pictures in fucking, in blacked out fucking rooms.
Yeah.
And, things are either black or white.
Yes.
And it was like all this, and that was one of the arguments that a lot of people, especially people of my generation, had, where it's like, that's not fucking real.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things, and you sent me one of these kits.
Yeah,
it's not as I guess it can be one of those black and white kind of situations.
You can that still comes down to the person's integrity.
Thank you,
right?
Integrity,
right? And I mean, we've all seen it. Tattoos don't glow, so if your photo looks like it's glowing, maybe don't post that and share it as real work.
I wish people would be a little bit more honest about with that, because when people come in and they're just like, man, I want those pitch blacks and these iridescent whites. I'm like, okay, you see your phone there? Yeah, that's where that exists.
Yeah. See,
the rest of this is real life.
Turn up your contrast.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that just comes down to who are you as a person,
right,
as an artist, right? Like a car company. This is what I always say to kids and like my peers when we talk about this shit.
Here comes the bullshit. I'm just kidding.
No, when fucking Honda is trying to sell a new Accord, they're not going to show a dirty car, right?
Right.
And they're going to have a professional photographer with professional lighting take a photo of that car. When you go see it in person, you're like, okay, it's not quite as cool as it was in that fucking commercial.
And then when you take it out for a drive, you just sit back and go, man, this is the Honda Accord.
Yeah. So Honda's got to take it upon themselves to like figure out what's not false advertising, but what makes their product look shiny to get you to the dealership, right? That's tattooing. Hey, take a professional photo of your work, put it in a fucking nice book, and don't make it look like shit. So people will notice that guy takes care of his fucking presence and what he's trying to put himself as. But if you're a scumbag and your work looks like shit when they leave, you're a piece of shit.
Well, the chances are that no filter is going to help that.
Yeah.
That's the hope. That's
correct.
The hope. Although we do know of a lot of people who've gone pretty far.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know a lot of people who've made quite a career for themselves.
Yeah.
Being both a scumbag and a shitty tattoo.
Yeah, and Photoshop has worked really well
Oh,
for themselves.
fuck yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so here's the other thing on that, right? False advertising is real. And I don't think as tattooers you should be putting something out there that you can't create. You can't, right? Because one, that's just lame as fuck. Two, you're just kind of shitting on your future career. Mm-hmm. Because in 5 years when those people are like, all these other people are better and you sold me on something, I'm never going to go back to you. Or I'm never going to send my friends to your way. You're just dwindling your worth down from the get forever. So I feel like have some integrity, not just for them because they deserve it, because they do, but also for yourself.
Yes.
Give the world what you can do realistically and honestly.
Find your level.
Find your level. Take a nice photo of it, but don't be fucking dumb.
Right.
So yeah, this was like a nice. This tool was a tool to try and like be the middle ground of your like setup at home or at your home shop, and being on the road, guesting or doing conventions. At least you have something that's a good option. Go find a little corner that's not super bright. Use this, take a photo, cool. So Franco and I launched that a few years ago, and it's been doing great ever since.
Nice.
And I just like I handed it off to them for just like a small percentage, and it's dwindled down because now everybody's like more privy to how to do it themselves.
Right.
But at the time,
I think what you gave them was something like it was like a kit that they could put together.
Yeah.
Because with me, like knowing how that works, I did go out and make my own kit, but I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And
exactly.
So everybody's got their own way of doing that kind of thing.
And that's all it was at that point, was to try and, because there was no YouTube videos on how to do it, it was cool, I'll fill that gap. And it did, and it worked well. And I think it's still selling decently well because it's a nice little tool. And I'm excited about it. And it was just something to help myself. And then I realized, other people will benefit from this too.
No, I think that's one of the things in this business. Like if you can, because normally when you go to a convention is when you would sit down next to someone and say, "Hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How are you doing this?
What
Black
lens do you use?" Yeah.
Well, and how often are like people just talking about machines, needle setups, what company they're using?
It's an extension of those chats.
Exactly.
For sure.
And I think with that, it's something that a lot of tattooers aren't going to think about on the daily.
No.
And when you hear somebody else doing that, I'm like, dude, what are you using there? I want to know.
100%.
You know.
100%.
So the other thing that you have, and I don't know if this is the only thing you have, but this is the only other one that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Is the Ghostline app.
And,
And that was something at
it.
first I didn't know it was you. I thought you were just one of the sponsored artists. I didn't know that was actually yours. So
yeah, that's funny. So
because it's okay. And the reason why I say that is
yeah.
because how many tattooers do you know that are really that 9 times out of 10 they're just taking somebody else's thing and just sponsored. And then they let that company run with their fucking name,
yes,
do whatever the fuck they want. And then when I come up to you and go, "Hey man, how's that thing? You must be making money on that." It's like, I don't own that. I just
they just gave me a check.
I'm just sponsored.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So what was the deal? Like, I mean, I know why you came up with it, obviously, but
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was trying to figure out what app I could use to make good stencils for tattooing to save me some time, right? Because I'm usually doing like a lot of realistic stuff, and I'm spending an hour and a half on most of my stencils every day. So when Procreate and the iPad generation like really started, it was like, this is the shit, cool. I'm less fatigue on my wrist, but I'm still tracing. Then I caught wind of a couple like crafty type apps that you could use, like just on the Apple Store that kind of worked, but they weren't great. And I was like, fuck, man, I'm using this app for like these kind of photos and this for my drawing and this for that. I wish there was just one fucking app that I could use that would do all of this. And as soon as
one place I can go.
As soon as I said it out loud, I was like, oh, I got to make it.
Yeah.
So then it took me from that outward, like out loud sentence and epiphany to launching Ghostline was 3 years later.
Oh, wow.
So
that long.
It took a minute. I spent a year trying to find somebody that would help me program and code an app, and to no avail. And then I kind of like gave up on it for a minute because I was busy and I had another kid, and it's just, you know, life, and still tattooing full time. And then I went to a specific tattoo. I'll never forget it. And I was like, fuck, man, I wish I could figure out how to build this thing. And then so much so that I started like researching, okay, how do I do that? How do I go learn how to code and program?
Yeah.
Because I know a little bit from college, but like not that much. Not like nowadays. You know, school was 20 years ago.
There's a major learning.
Yeah, I went to college 20 years ago. So, but I just became compelled, like, okay, this is a good idea. I want it for myself. And I think if I build it and do it right, I'll build it for tattooers. And I think it could be something people would really like. So I shit you not. So social media is dead, right? This is a lovely reminder that it's not, and this is great. So, and this is being very vulnerable right now because it's not that cool, but it's super cool. So I like had kind of given up on like building this thing. And then when I finally was like, no, okay, cool. I exhausted all my resources. I went through like every contact I could think of that might be in tech or social, or not social, but like programming, anything computers. I went through everything, scoured Google, looked for companies. Finally, I was like, fuck it, you know? Go on my story and I post, does anybody know anybody in programming or coding?
Dude, I always found that to be the weirdest way to try to find somebody.
It is the weirdest thing.
But you see it a lot. And I'm assuming it works. Just people keep doing it.
So you know who hits me up? This lady, the only one.
Oh, that was good. There's only one.
She DMs me and goes, hey, I'm your client. Well, actually, I'm not. I have an appointment in a few months.
Oh, shit.
Coming up. My husband is a master coder and programmer for like the last 20 years. I'll tell him you're going to reach out to him. Here's his email if you feel like it. So, I mean, only one. I'm like, cool.
Immediately emailed this guy.
I was like, thanks, ma'am. Emailed him like in the same breath, and kind of lightly talked to him about like what I'm thinking of. And I knew better. I had to have like an NDA ready to go. And I was like, so if you want to talk about it, I would love to talk. Please talk to me about it. And we get on the phone and we hit it off really quickly. He's covered in tattoos. He's a big tattoo collector. Like he has his whole back done by Matt Jordan. Like,
oh shit!
Like
He's in the know.
He's the shit. And so I go,
it's a good thing you had an NDA because that's the kind of thing. It's like, hey man, this guy down in fucking by the
fucking
beach
idiot
got this idea.
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain I can make it work for you.
yeah. And I got really lucky that she saw that. I got really lucky that I found him and that I found both of them. They're great people. But literally, it's he and I. We hit it off. We became instant, really good buddies. I'd consider him one of my best friends.
Nice.
And just a good man of integrity. He understands where I'm coming from as a tattooer that wants to do it right and do right by tattooers and make something that's great. And understands that I don't want to sell it for $1 bajillion to fucking somebody who doesn't give a fuck. That like I want to run it. And anyways, he became not just somebody I could hire to code it or whatever. He became a partner.
So he partnered in with you.
And I asked him, and he's like, I will make the time, sure. But
nice.
like he doesn't have time. He's a dad and he has a full-time job too. But so we just agreed from the get-go, this is what it is, this is what we're doing, this is what we're about. And we never want to fall away from that. And we've been live now for a little over 2 years, and we have 0 employees. It's just the two of us. We've I've contracted like my buddy who does like helps me do the some of the filming to promote it, and he's going around to like the pro team guys. But he's like one of my best friends, nice. And I'm supporting his small business, and he's helping me. Just because I can't go film everything because I'm still tattooing full time.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think the biggest issue with that is the fact that, I mean, there are tattooers out there that, are really good at that. They're good at doing the whole social media thing. They're good at being the TikToker or whatever.
They're real good.
Call themselves.
They're real good.
I can't. Like even with this podcast, you asked me before. It's like, oh, so you film all this stuff and then you edit it all? Yeah, that's why the podcast sucks. Because it's a pain in the dick, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, but you care because you want it because it's yours.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've talked to certain people, mainly older generation tattooers, that when I say like, oh fuck, I got this guy busting my balls about he doesn't like the sound quality.
Yeah.
But the older tattooers are just like, dude, we watched fucking Super 8 fucking video or video film of shit from the 60s and 70s. You know, when I came into the business...
And you couldn't see anything because it's blurry.
Yeah. When I came into the business, there was Roy Boy, the old Ed Hardy Tattoo Time. All these videos were playing in the front room of the shop. That's what I came in as well. So to me, it was kind of like you're looking back in time. Now, granted, I don't want my stuff to reminisce... Oh yeah, that was filmed in the 80s. You know, I don't want it to look like old school like that. But I do want it to be like, you know, fun. But I do know today that the way people think and the way people's brains are wired. Yeah. The second they go into a thing, because I've had people tell me this, dude, the second I hear the bad sound quality, I'm out. The second I don't see, second the video's kind of whatever, I check out. But I'm like, it's true. Well, then you're missing a lot. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because there's been times, man, there's old telephone video of Philadelphia Eddie and fucking Stanley Moskowitz sitting at the old Philly conventions just talking shit. Yeah. And it's like, dude, the sound quality is fucking horrible. Yeah. The video is terrible. Because it was on a brick on the people are walking. We're talking like sometimes phones, you know. People are walking past, bumping into the camera. And dude, it's like you're sitting there and you're like, oh my God, this is fucking gold. Yeah. You know. So okay, I'm not gonna compare what I'm doing with what like listening to those guys talk. But yeah, it's one of those things, it's a moment in fucking time, I guess, you know. Yeah,
you're not worried about the high level production, you're just capturing the real like moments.
Yeah, because a lot of times a lot of the idea behind this is, you know, is letting people in on the conversation. You know what I mean? Like there are times like I would love to have been able to film us sitting in the bar talking. Yeah. Because the shit we talked about there, everybody wants to hear.
100%.
They just can't.
Correct.
It's not for their ears, you know?
It's not.
But it is one of those things, like, I think that's one of the things, like, trying to let people in on a little bit of that.
I agree. And dude, it's the same thing as, like, those late night talk shows. Like, right when it's going to commercial break.
Is when you get a glimmer.
And you see, like, them whisper to each other. And I'm like, I wonder what that is. Yeah. That's this. Yeah. But the bar was more.
I think one of the things I've been kicking around doing, and I want to, and I will, I think I'm going to, everybody's like, oh, you got to set up a Patreon. Yeah. And the Patreon.
I'm not familiar with it much yet.
So neither am I. I've looked into it, and it seems like in order for me to do it right, you have to give back a lot. Because people are basically supporting your channel. They're supporting you. Yeah. Whether it be as an artist or for content or any number of things. Yeah. So basically, you know, you have to give them something. I don't want to take advantage of somebody. Like, I don't want to just stand there with my fucking hand out. Yep. Because not for nothing, a lot of people do that. You know, they expect, well, if you want to keep seeing it, you know, better cough it up. Yeah. I'm not that guy, you know. So to be able to give people something that's really, I mean, I got to be more creative. I got to get that stuff. I got to figure out how to document, you know, me working, tattooing, drawing, art, whatever. Yes. But the back stories, like the being able to sit here and while I'm breaking shit down. Yes. You know, the stories that nobody.
That's the shit.
You got to be in the know. So I think that's what my intention is, to start doing that. You know, with you know, prior knowledge by you, like say, hey, look, by the way, putting this on the Patreon. Yeah. I only got about 12 people that follow, but they're rabid people. They want the fucking information. They're in. You know, so that's probably going to be my next thing, is because I think it's cool. I think there's little things that people can find out about this business that unless you're in the know,
you would never know. You would never know. Well, it's the same thing. I don't give a fuck about most sports, right? But I will fucking watch like Hard Knocks for 2 hours. I don't give a fuck about any football. But I like the politics and the fucking the logistics going on behind the scenes.
You want
of a team,
you want
of
the
a business.
Drama. You want the drama.
No, I don't give a fuck about the drama.
Well, the drama is part of it.
I'm sorry, yeah.
I don't mean drama between like.
I'm thinking like Good Housewives drama. I don't give a fuck.
Oh no. What I mean by drama is
the cutthroat shit. Like the coach is like, I gotta fire this fucking dude because of this fucking dude, whatever. Like,
well, because that shit's because if you think about it, those are the things that shop owner, you know, tattooer.
Bingo.
Like if they're working in a shop and they're having issues with the guys they work with, they can go to one of their other friends in the shop up the street and be like, dude, I don't know what to fucking do, blah, 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 blah. And that's the kind of stuff that you get out of just that. So when I say drama, I don't mean like pansy-ass bullshit. I mean, like, I can't fucking go into work tomorrow somebody fucking talked me down off this ledge.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
So,
You're right.
yeah.
You're right.
So
I mean, yeah, same thing. I totally agree. My wife could give two shits about racing, but when like that Formula One shit got popular a few years ago because the show did the same thing as Hard Knocks, it's just like all the behind the scenes stuff. My wife's like, "This is really interesting and really cool."
Really?
And then got me into it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of cool. This is just like Hard Knocks. Like you're learning about the organization,
right,
not the game. The game's cool, but I'd rather play the game." Than watch a game.
Well,
you know
I think like anything is like. I think that's how reality television started. I think it started. Well, I know for a fact it started because of that. Because people were like, oh my god, this is so interesting. There's so much going on. Blah, 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 blah. But then a film crew shows up and they're like, all right, this is what the fuck.
Yeah,
it's gonna take 3 weeks to fucking film this. We need to find a dead body.
Yeah, make some shit up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we gotta start making
shit
up. When I did Miami Ink, I was like, I walked up and I talked to the producer and I'm like, I don't understand what the fuck are you guys doing? Why does everything have to be staged? Why does this have to happen? And I was like, dude, you're in South Beach, Miami, dude. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Shit. Did you see the street outside?
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
No. She's like, yeah, you're right. But what happens when nothing happens and I got a full film crew here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I get it. But then I can also look at it from the perspective of, well, then maybe this shouldn't be a fucking television show. Or maybe it should be a one shot. Or maybe it should be, you know what I mean?
A
Make
limited
a documentary.
series, dude.
But the problem being is there's no money in that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with fucking...
You might win an award, but you're not getting paid.
And it's the same thing... Now we go to the dark side of tattooing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about... I don't want to talk about it, but the idea behind that would be machines. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna make a limited edition pen that works exactly like the other one, but this one's got somebody's name on the side. Yeah. It's like, is that really worth an extra $600?
Well, I think it's subjective, right? It's like, is
that is a very politically correct fucking answer.
Well, what about like my print that has like the artist like actual Giclée signature and numbered edition?
I think that so I just recently had this conversation with a friend of mine and we talked about prints.
Yeah.
And when I used to make prints back in the day, they were the initial Giclées. They were digital prints still, but I had to buy fucking 30 of them.
Yeah.
And they cost me, and the more I bought, the cheaper the print was.
Sure.
So it's not like today where I go, I need 30 prints. Okay, it's $9 each.
Yeah.
Back then, if I sold the print for $170 or $200, it's because it cost me $70 to print.
Correct.
So there's a humongous difference between that. And then when you look at the standpoint, from the standpoint of a Giclée, where maybe it's hand remarked, where he went in and photo touched it, did some stuff. Yeah. Then because you're never going to own the original.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And that was an argument I had with somebody recently about: is it digital?
Yeah.
Is digital art considered painting? Or is it just digital fucking art? I'm not going to knock digital art. Digital art is digital art.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, it's digital art. It's not a painting.
Correct. It's not a tangible thing.
It's not something...
You can't feel the medium.
And there's not just one.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. If there's one, then I get it. But unless you give me the fucking hard drive that you fucking did that bitch on...
Correct.
Fuck off. That's just a print.
Correct.
So there is a lot of that. And that's not knocking the talent it takes to create that art.
Of course not.
It's none of that at all.
Of course not.
So yeah, while I agree with you, that there is a tangible worth to a Giclée that's been hand signed
and a supply and demand thing.
And exactly. So I get that. But is it better than just a regular print?
So I brought it up only because that's like totally subjective too. If it's not the original, but it's got the guy's real signature, is it worth anything on an investment scale?
And that's it.
Probably not.
Well, it is to a degree because if there's only 3 of those pieces out there.
It's more than a print without it. But is it worth anything near what the original might be worth?
Never.
Of course not. So for me, I'm looking at like that as it's just a fun thing for collectors, just like Star Wars collectors want the like 1 of 100 of something. Is it? If most of those guys aren't even buying it for the value, they're buying it because they just want it, right? That's tattooers, right? So is it preying on tattooers' passion and like excitement for it? Sure, but is it just good business? And is it hurting anybody? I think it's acceptable and it's cool because like, dude, like. I don't know, man. If like Sailor Jerry got a custom rotaries from fucking somebody, I'd be like,
I think where the problem.
No. I think that's lame because I know he's hoarded out his name for so long. But if a tattoo I really liked offered this one thing, and he's gonna tell me honestly, like, this is just that machine with my fucking color on it and my name on it.
Well, that's what it is usually.
I'd be like, cool, that's cool, and I might buy it, and I might not.
See,
but I'm not looking at it as an investment. I'm looking at it as like,
but this is where
I might use it and still make money from it.
But this is where it becomes generational in the sense of value.
Yeah.
Like, so from my generation, if I purchased a machine from Aaron Kane,
yeah,
I know that was a coil machine.
Yeah.
That he made the coils for, that he made the fucking,
yeah,
the like he cut the frame.
Yeah.
He made the A-bars. He cut the springs.
It's like a drinking
everything.
bar. Yeah.
Everything is handmade. That is that's the difference.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is how I'm going to break it down.
It is.
That's an original.
Yeah.
That's an original piece of art. A coil machine is basically a giclée. It is a print. It is something that anybody could put together. Anybody could, and that's why I say it like that. I'm not, again, it's a machine that's capable of doing a lot. The other biggest issue with a coil machine versus a rotary machine is rotary machine's got a fucking life expectancy. Coils do not. I break a spring, I fucking fix a spring.
Yeah.
I blow a capacitor, I replace the capacitor. If I'm lucky enough, I can call Aaron Kane up and say, hey man, would you mind doing me a favor? Can you cut me springs? Because I want them from you.
Yes.
There's a humongous difference. And that's why when I look at that, I don't put the same value on a limited edition coil machine as I would on...
Oh, you mean a rotary?
On a limited edition rotary machine versus an actual... Even a production line coil to me is worth more than a limited edition.
100%. 100%.
But that's why I brought it up from that perspective.
100%. And I like the comparison, right? Like you have an original versus a print. You do. But for the modern tattooer, I think convenience of rotaries, the convenience of it hits the same every time for the years that motor stays alive, like almost exactly the same. I don't have to tune it. I don't have to waste time on that. Because that part of the industry is just not as necessary anymore, right? Like I grew up fucking learning how to tune machines, and I was always frustrated because I could never get it to the sweet spot that I had before. If I dropped it, oh fuck.
Yeah.
If I fucking used it for 6 weeks, okay, it's changing and I'm tinkering, fuck. And I know the mechanics. Like I'm bright enough to understand like exactly how they work. But something about something was never it was never right. And it just pissed me off. And it's like, fuck, now I got to go spend another $500, $600, before they got crazy expensive on a new machine and hope it was just as good. So,
and again, I'm not knocking that angle of things. I'm totally not. I get the idea between a coil and a rotary and the ease in which the learning curve on start to finish, the idea of never having to retune. I get all that.
Yeah.
But my problem
comes...
value. Yeah, the value. That's it. And that's an argument I've had. And dude, like I said, I know Franco.
Yeah.
I don't know FK Augusto, but I could give a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people out there. I know the value of those machines. I know what they're worth and how much they cost, whatever.
Yes.
I've often said, one company set the bar and everybody's trying to match it.
Yeah.
Now you got China coming in and saying, yeah, we don't give a fuck, dude. We got those. We know what those patents are. We know how much those machines are built. We're just going to make a cheaper version of it. And by the way, it's 1/10 the price.
Yes.
And that's the scary part. And that's why I think we're in the shit show we're in now with the amount of tattooers and the amount of craziness and everything else is because anybody can go to Amazon, get a knockoff of any machine.
All of it,
literally any machine. And it's probably going to run as close, if not as good, if not better. I've heard people that purchased, I'm not going to mention the names of the machines, but machines that were insanely expensive that are, rotary still.
Yeah.
And they're getting them for, no exaggeration,
like a 10.
$75 to $120 versus... $800 to $1,000.
Yes.
And people are going, dude, I got one of the expensive ones. This one runs better.
Okay, so let me devil's advocate here,
please,
because that's just a fact, and that will always happen. Like successful, good companies will always be copied because they see success, and then guys will undermine it with just their cost being lower. But you can compare it to the conversation or the argument of like high fashion, right? Like, why is this purse $5,000, but I can get like the same leather and whatever, blah blah blah, for $50 or $10?
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you the kind of person I don't know if you're a sneaker guy or I don't know if you're into all that shit, guys are, people are.
Of course.
And then other sneaker guys and other people like that
Yeah.
are into that as well. So they're going to look at that and they put a value on it. I personally think it's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
you see the way I dress. You know what I mean? I'm not fucking, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are people that are down with that.
Yes.
Does anybody look at with the machine that you're using and be like, oh my God.
No, but
He's got a gold plated.
You're right. You're right, and I
know?
don't buy into any of that. Do I like sneakers? Sure, but do I consider myself a sneakerhead? No. Am I like a brand whore in every way? No, not at all. But do I like nice things every once in a while? Yeah. Somebody explained it to me about the fashion thing one time though. That like really makes sense. It's okay. Like Louis Vuitton, big brand, charges way too much for everything, right?
Right.
They created pretty much an entire industry of what do you call it? The chests, right? The travel chests.
Oh, yeah, okay.
They built that industry. They made luxury chests for
people
for royalty.
Yeah.
For royalty. It wasn't originally for royalty. Royalty caught on and said, "This is like amazing." And they made the best quality, and then
Right.
they just built from there. So everything they built after that had this integrity of
So
they make the best.
To be honest,
of the
I didn't
best.
know that. I had no idea about that.
So comparing that, it's like, well, they engineered these chests. They spent the money building the team to like maintain the quality of the manufacturing of those chests. Their customer service is insane. Also, if you go to Louis Vuitton right now and take back a wallet or a purse that you've had for 10, 20 years, it's a little beat up. You take it in for a small fee, they will restore it entirely. Like, it's not gnarly. So, like, trying to get a single guy like an Aaron Kane to get your machine worked on is like nearly impossible because it's
No,
one.
that's not true. That happens on a daily.
No, you're right. But like on a big scale.
But let me ask you. I was going to say, but let me ask you a question. How many of those fucking those rotary companies that we know of?
Yeah.
That you can send your stuff back.
I've had good experiences.
You have.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who haven't.
Fair.
I'm just saying. I don't know from Adam. I don't know personally.
Fair.
I know for a fucking fact. A lot of people. I mean, I've had people go like, "I'm just going to send you a new one." I don't want a new one. Just fucking fix this one, dude. I don't like throwing stuff away.
Yeah, I don't want your handouts. I want good customer service.
So but that's why I say there's a big difference between a Louis Vuitton and some dude who's getting parts in from China and just having people put them together.
I guess what I'm saying though, not even to try to be that argumentative, but like,
especially consider we know everybody.
correct. But like, I'm not even like.
No, I get it.
I'm not worried about that. I watched them. A couple of these guys, Franco being one of them, I watched him engineer every single model that's come out. I watched him work alongside his engineers to design everything. So it's not just like he went on Alibaba and ordered some fucking shit.
And a lot of people do just that.
Correct.
They basically call up and say, "What machines you got? I can put my name on."
I watched him write checks for fucking lots of money to have things designed, to have things made for him. Like beta testing motors and stuff, right? So everything from the get-go that I witnessed was he was overseeing it and designing it and coming up with it. It wasn't just like, cool, order that and whore it out for as much money as possible. It was, I'm trying to make the best machine possible. So when he literally had V2 or whatever it was, the best machine I'd ever used up until that point in my career, which was already 12, 13 years in. Right. Which now doesn't even seem that long ago. Whatever it was, though, it was like, this is amazing. What do you do? I want to make 2 different versions that are better.
Right.
And so when you're buying it now for a high price, you're buying all of that, right? It's the same argument we have as an artist. You're not just buying my print for $50. You're buying my fucking 20 years of passion and good like work ethic to get good at art. You're buying a little bit of that too.
I think the only problem I have with that argument, and this is where it's just different opinions.
I love it.
The problem I have with that argument is like it's still you're putting lipstick on a pig, dude. You know what I mean? It's not like it's that. It's again his investment of time, his investment of energy.
Yes,
I get all that.
Yes.
But how much more money are you going to make off of something where you should be charging? Keep in mind too, and with coil guys, they're just as bad.
Yeah.
Because when Aaron jumped up his prices and did this, everybody acted like they could do the same.
Yeah.
But now what you're starting to see is because of the lack of popularity of coils, that's starting to come down. Where Aaron can still do what he does because you're buying an Aaron Kane.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other builders out there. Same thing. You're buying them.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think we look back on now, but we like coming up. I didn't know the value of this stuff. I didn't buy machines because I thought they'd be worth money down the line.
No, you bought them because you heard they were the best.
Exactly, or because I knew that guy and I wanted to purchase that machine from him.
Bingo.
Now you can look back at it and go, "Oh, that thing is worth money." How many people are selling those rotaries? Yeah. And that's my only point.
Oh, no.
That's my only point.
100%. Within that, I think they're trying to build a market, right? Like that exclusive, like limited edition run. They're trying to build a secondary market off of this, rising market. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because they started this company these companies to make a better product for themselves and their friends and to make money.
Right.
So now they're just trying to scale a company that's doing well, doing something right. And I don't think there's anything wrong with scaling. If you're not able to fucking sell and your numbers are going down, scaling up may or may not be the answer. Yeah. Or like charging more may or may not be the answer. But like you also have to be somewhat privy to the business that you're running.
Yeah.
You can't just be like good at what you do. Because there's a lot of fucking great tattooers who fucking aren't busy.
No.
And they suck at that part of it.
Well, and that's the thing. We're finding ourselves now with, again, too fucking money. Yeah. Too much. Like, one guy builds a machine, another guy builds a machine, another guy builds a machine. And before you know it, it's like, well, which one's the best? They all fucking about run the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because for the longest time, it wasn't about building the best machine. It was about making it as good as the next guy.
Yes.
And then the prices just kept going up and up and up and up. And again, that's when I walked away. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And now, my friend in Brazil, dude, he's constantly, let me send you this. I'm like, no, dude, I've got these. I'm good. I don't want any more. I don't need any more. And that's it. I know what works for me, and realistically, how much better is it going to be? And again, this came up a dozen times this week. It's not the bat, it's the fucking batter.
It's true, dude.
You know what I mean?
True.
And again, a lot of people in this business, I think they're relying upon getting the big names to use their gear, and then everybody underneath there that looks up to that guy, they're going to look at him and be like, I got to get what he's using.
That's exactly what's happening.
But that's my problem with that, because I don't think it's worth it. I think that most people, and that's why I always push individuality. Dude, if you're not willing to try a bunch of different things, why are you willing to listen to that one guy?
Yes.
Because realistically, he's just, keep in mind, you bought it, he got it for free.
Yeah.
Because the guy who gave it to him knows full well that you're paying attention to him.
You're going to buy it because of that.
Yeah. And again, I understand. We were talking about this before. We live in a corporate world.
Yes. And
everybody's trying to take care of that, take advantage of that. Where I look at it as, I'm an artist. I want to be an individual. I don't want to stand. I want to go to a convention and be the machine, be the guy who's not using the same machine as everybody else.
Same.
You know what I mean? I remember when I first started using rotaries, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's that?" Or people just being like, what the fuck are you using? I'm like, it's a fucking rotary, dude.
Yeah.
And they're looking at you like, fuck, what, coils ain't good enough for you no more? And I'm like, no, they're not.
No.
And not to say, and again, I'm the first one to tell you, I like my coils better than I like my rotaries.
Yeah.
But I also know they don't bother my hands.
Yeah.
So again, I have a bunch, I contradict the fuck out of myself all the time. So
well, different strokes for different folks applies to fucking everything.
Most certainly.
You know what I mean? Like, I always hated coils because I could never re-find my sweet spot. So as soon as I found fucking rotaries, even like stigmas and all that shit back in the day, and neotats, I was like, they don't hurt my hands as bad, and I can finally get good at lining because it runs the same every time. I have no fucking issues with coils. The way they run, when they're perfect, they're perfect. Yeah. Except that they're heavy.
But that's the thing. That's a lot to do with tradesmen. I think that somebody who knows their trade is going to be able to. They're just going to be able to work with it, and that's the joy of how. Like when people say it's like, oh, they're not going to ever be replaced. Nope. Nobody is walking away from it. Most people are not going to walk away from that. If that's what they use, correct, that's what they love, they will go to the ground.
It will be standardized forever, yeah. Exactly. And that's a beautiful thing. And that's a cool thing about tattooing. Yeah. And I'm not going to fault anybody. If you fucking love it and you're putting out your shit,
oh yeah,
then that's bravo. That's what exactly you should be doing.
Me talking shit about this is more to wind people up because I just get a kick out of it. Because to me, it's just like, I don't give a fuck what you use, man.
And it's also worth talking about, though.
Yeah. Oh, because I think people need to be educated, man.
Yes.
I think the fact that I'm not going in here with, I'm not sponsored by anybody.
Yeah.
I've never been sponsored. I mean, even my best friends in Brazil, like, they give me a bunch of shit. I don't consider it a sponsorship.
Yeah.
I call it a friendship. I did the same thing with Franco.
Yeah.
When I dealt with Franco, it was like, if I went there and I bought a bunch of stuff wholesale, whatever,
yeah,
I literally was just like, yeah, dude, it's a friendship, not a sponsorship. I don't want you to ever use my name in a way that if somebody asks me what machines I use, I'll be the first one to fucking tell them, and it's not because I'm being sponsored by you.
Yeah.
You're my friend, and I use your gear. I don't use your gear anymore, and we're fucking like that as far as friendship.
Sure.
So now it's like, they make good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's not a shot. I just don't. You know?
No. Well, because you found things over the years that you like better anyway.
Exactly.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. And the way I found that is by not being stuck in one fucking in one corner.
Yeah.
I like everything. I want to try all kinds of
You're
shit.
like, I heard that was good. I'll try that. I heard that was good. Yeah.
The only way you're gonna know is if you try.
I try a new machine every 3 months.
Yeah.
Still. Whether it was given to me or somebody tried it on their own and they told me to try this out or check it out. Every 3 months I have a new machine usually.
Yeah.
And twice a year I'm like, that's the best machine I've ever used.
Nice.
And that's a good thing. I want it to keep being better. I want to keep making my job easier to do my best work.
Dude, with coil machines, it was always like a lot of days. It was just like, ooh, I have a yellow, powder coated machine. I'm gonna use that one today, and it was nothing other than it's a yellow
cool.
machine. Yeah, it's dumb as shit, but it's fun.
Remind me later to show you some of my. I have some of my old machines that are just like rusty because I just left them outside. But there's some good ones, some Paco Rollins in there. And
nice.
Shit.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's worth money.
Yeah.
That you could actually probably sell.
No, not
rusty
now.
and everything.
Not now.
You'd be surprised.
But
well.
I like that point though.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's where that comes from. The way I look at that is, coils are worth money because they're never going to lose their value.
Yeah.
As long as it's a machine that was well made and well received, and especially if it was a builder that really knew what he was doing.
Yeah. Well, and the name, we all know the names.
Exactly.
And Kane's the top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I use Aaron because I think I look at Aaron's work or Aaron's machines as being a work of art because they're fucking gorgeous.
They are
run amazing.
They are.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's the name.
Exactly. All right. Well, we've been going off. Do you want to? Is there anything in particular you want to touch on? Or?
No. Let's just do it again.
Let's just do it again. That's it. I like that. I'm totally down with that.
I love this shit.
All right. Cool. Well. All right. Then we'll call it on that. Thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, buddy.
Hey, everybody. I want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of Not For Nothing. Like and subscribe. I'm going to put all of London's information, the shop, and how they can get the apps and everything else in the description. In the meantime, take care of yourself and see you when I see you. Later.
Good to see you, Joe.
Same here, man.